Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. The end of the world. The materials consumed by women will be returned 10,000 times. Chapter 41. Everyone was trembling, and no one dared to speak any more. Zhang Fan smiled and said, "Since you don't say it, forget it. You mowers, if you haven't cut enough 100 kilograms yet, hurry up and deliver 100 kilograms of grass to the 27th floor before 5 p.m. We won't wait until the expiration date." The men who were mowing the grass became nervous and went downstairs to work with various knives without taking a break. At this time, Zhang Fan suddenly stretched out his hand, grabbed Tien's collar, lifted her in front of him with one hand, and said with a smile, Tien, do you think you are disguising well?" Tien was startled and was about to struggle when she heard this and said in surprise, "Huh, how do you know who I am? No, you have the wrong person." Yazzie, who didn't look very smart. Zhang Fan smiled, reached into his pocket, and actually took out a bottle of pure water from his pocket. He squeezed the bottle with his fingers and poured it on her head. Tien, who was over 1.5 meters tall, covered her head with both hands, her legs fluttering in the air, and her toes couldn't even reach the ground. "Ouch, what are you doing?" Zhang Fan wet her face with water and wiped it hard several times, causing the makeup to fall off. A quirky little beauty appears. Zhang Fan smiled with satisfaction. "Not bad, very beautiful. Come with me." The survivors were dumbfounded. This ant is actually a beauty. Zhang Fan can encounter this. This guy is so lucky. The men were crazy with jealousy, but no one dared to say a word. Zhang Fan carried Tien upstairs with a smile. Tien was frightened. "What are you going to do? Let me go. Can I give you money? Just let me go." Thinking that this man had just killed someone, Tien's face turned pale and his heart almost jumped out of his throat. Zhang Fan shook his head. "What's the use of money?" Tien's mouth flattened and she started crying. "Oh no, I'm only 18 years old, I don't want to talk about a boyfriend." "Boyfriend?" Zhang Fan sneered and knocked a chestnut on Tien's forehead. "What are you fantasizing about?" "Oops." Tien covered her head and cried. Let me go, let me go." Zhang Fan felt annoyed and said coldly, "If you cry again, I will strip you naked and throw you downstairs." Tien's sad face greater than _ less than. She shut her mouth instantly. Zhang Fan carried her back to Tang Shiru's home. Tang Shiru opened the door and took a look, surprised and said, "This is..." Zhang Fan calmly said, "Your new sister." Several women stretched their heads to look. Tien saw several beauties and immediately knew that this man was definitely a pervert and that he was in doom. However, she was relieved to see the women's faces glowing and not being abused. Tien is still making the final struggle. You can't win my heart like this." Zhang Fan said casually. "Don't be so sentimental. Why do I want your heart? Anyway, you should pose in whatever pose I want you to pose." Tien's cheeks turned red. You. She wanted to open the portal and escape, but she was not sure she could escape the man's control, so she could only endure it. At this time, Zhang Fan took out a bunch of snacks. "Do you want to eat? Potato chips, chocolate, seaweed chips, beef jerky." Tien's pupils dilated. Ding. 7 days ago, Tien consumed 1 enlightenment fruit, subspace shuttle, and returned 600 of them. It has been put into the portable space. Zhang Fan's eyes lit up. Got it. Without saying a word, Zhang Fan took out a subspace shuttle fruit and ate it. Fruit of enlightenment, subspace shuttle, 7 stars. After eating it, you can gain the ability to travel through subspace. Eating the same fruit repeatedly has a chance of improving the star rating. Subspace shuttle, 7 stars, you can open a subspace channel and go to any location within 1,000 meters, up to 2 times a day. You can create a subspace anchor point within 100 meters, up to 1 time a day. 7 stars. It's actually a 7-star fruit. Zhang Fan was stunned. He has eaten hundreds of fruits, but he has not accumulated a 7-star ability. This fruit is a 7-star. As expected of the teleportation ability, the star rating is astonishingly high. Tien asked stupidly, "Do you also have a superpower fruit?" As soon as she said it, she knew that she had said something stupid. Looking at how strong Zhang Fan was, she knew that he must also be an able person. Zhang Fan chuckled. Follow me, and I'll ensure you have nothing to worry about eating and drinking, including the superpower fruit. Of course Tien didn't believe it. TCH, you think I am a 3-year-old child? Zhang Fan turned his hand, and a handful of black lychees appeared in his palm. Tien was stunned, her eyes as wide as eggs. Huh, why do you have so many? Of course Zhang Fan couldn't explain, so he just ate a few pills. After eating, I turned my hands over again and got another handful. Tien was shocked and said, magic, pocket space. Zhang Fan said calmly, and then finished another handful. After eating more than 20 subspace shuttle fruits, a reminder finally rang in my ears. Ding! Subspace shuttle upgraded to 8 stars. You can open a subspace channel and go to any location within 5,000 meters, up to 10 times a day. You can create a subspace anchor point within 1,000 meters, up to 2 times a day. Teleport anywhere within 5 kilometers. 10 times a day. 8 stars is a lot better than 7 stars. Zhang Fan laughed with satisfaction. He patted Tien on the head, pointed at the pile of snacks and said, eat it, it's all yours. Tien rushed forward with shining eyes. Wow, ding. Tien consumes 1 pack of beef jerky and gets 600 packs back. It has been put into the carry-on space. Ding. Tien consumes a pack of potato chips and gets 600 packs back. It has been put into the carry-on space. Zhang Fan smiled and said, eat before you talk. After saying that, he turned around and left. Tien rolled her eyes, hurriedly peeled off the pillowcase and stuffed all the food into it. Then he tore off a blue film as quickly as possible and looked into the subspace. The subspace anchor point at home was as conspicuous as a torch in the dark. Tien quickly pointed the landing point at the anchor point and then got in. Hey, want to catch me? There's no way. Before she left, she turned around and was horrified to find Zhang Fan standing at the door, looking at her with interest. Tien was shocked. Oops, she lost her footing and fell directly from the exit. Want to run? Zhang Fan drew his hand in the air, and a huge blue film with a radius of more than 1.5 meters appeared. Zhang Fan walked in calmly. He also saw Tien Shin's spatial anchor point, so he pointed his landing point at the spatial anchor point. In Tien's home, a blue film suddenly appeared. Black Cat Cola raised his head lazily. Then Tien fell down and fell to the floor, screaming in pain. Cola, can this also fall? Bipeds are so stupid. Just as Tien was about to get up, a huge blue film appeared again. Zhang Fan walked out calmly, put 1 foot on the back of Tien's head, and pressed her face to the floor again. Piaji, ouch, Tien screamed. It hurts, it hurts, it hurts. Zhang Fan laughed, raised his feet, and lifted Tien up with 1 hand. The little girl's forehead was red. Tien was so ashamed and angry that she wanted to die. You must have done it on purpose. Yes, Zhang Fan picked Tien up casually. Is this your home? The black cat stood up, walked to Zhang Fan's leg and rubbed it. Zhang Fan only glanced at it and stopped paying attention. It was just an ordinary cat. He held the cat in 1 hand, and Coke fell asleep comfortably on Zhang Fan's arm. Tien's eyes widened and she said sadly and angrily, Coke, you usually don't let me hold you. Coke, meow. Zhang Fan quickly looked around the entire room. Within his sensory field of vision, nothing could block his prying eyes. Tien has no dangerous tools at home, only a kitchen knife and a fruit knife in the kitchen. Zhang Fan felt relieved, found a chair and sat down on his own, and picked up the anime figures in the display cabinet with interest. Tien's bedroom is full of figurines and stuffed to the brim. The computer chair is a colorful pink. The headset has bunny ears. It turns out she is a middle school girl. Zhang Fan thought to himself. He walked around the room and put all the items into his carry-on space. Tien was dumbfounded and said aggrievedly, That's my thing. Zhang Fan smiled slightly. It's mine now. Zhang Fan swiped his finger, and a huge blue film appeared. When he left just now, he left a subspace anchor at Tang Shiru's house. Now it's easy to find your way home. Tien was dumbfounded. How can you do it too? Did you copy my ability? Zhang Fan sighed. As a result, I am a middle school girl who almost guessed my ability. Of course Zhang Fan would not explain, and walked into the blue portal with the cat in his arms. Come with me. Tien was helpless. Her lifeblood is in the hands of bad people, so she can only bow her head. When the two returned home, Zhang Fan took out Tien's belongings from the random space. Okay, come over and eat. Eat. Tien didn't know what it meant and didn't dare to resist. She ran out of teleports today and couldn't run away even if she wanted to, so she could only do as Zhang Fan said. Tien came to the living room. The rich aroma of food comes. Tien's beautiful big eyes widened. The table is covered with dishes. In the middle is a hot pot, as well as more than a dozen side dishes such as dry roasted beef and fried bamboo shoots, and a variety of dipping sauces. There is also a steaming pot of rice. Tien was dumbfounded. This. How is this possible? She felt like she was dreaming. Tang Shiru and other women stood up to welcome Zhang Fan to his seat. Zhang Fan looked at the table. There are too many people, and there are not enough tables to seat. He picked a large round table from the space and placed it in the middle of the living room. 4 women transferred the food to the large round table. Zhang Fan sat down and said, "Let's eat." The 4 girls sat down and started eating. Tien was a little at a loss. She didn't expect that at this time, she could actually eat such a sumptuous meal. Tang Shiru smiled and said, "Come, sit here with me. I want to eat more today." Hu Lili and Lu Mengyao both laughed knowingly. Xu Mengqian secretly glanced at Zhang Fan, feeling a little resentful. Brother Zhang hasn't come to my room for 2 days. There are more and more women. When will it be my turn again? I won't fall out of favor, right? Tien was not very reserved. He broke the jar and sat down to eat. Wow, it's delicious. I haven't eaten meat for many days. It's so delicious. Do you still have natural gas here? Zhang Fan was in a good mood and explained. No, it's a propane tank for camping. Zhang Fan collected thousands of bottles in the supermarket, enough to last for a long time. Tien's little mouth was stuffed to the brim, almost making her eyes filled with tears. Wow, this is delicious. The 4 girls looked at Tien who was not eating, and said proudly. HMPH. Brother Zhang asked you to follow, you will make a lot of money. Yes, except Brother Zhang, where else can I eat such rich food? Follow Brother Zhang, make sure you have enough to eat, and you can also eat the superpower fruit. Tien raised his head and said in surprise. Superpower fruit, can we eat it too? She was filled with anticipation. Her experiences during this period made her deeply understand the importance of superpowers. A teleportation fruit gave her a huge help. If she could get another combat-oriented fruit, her chances of survival would increase a lot. Zhang Fan smiled meaningfully. Of course, Zhang Fan had eaten and drank enough. A sharp light flashed in his eyes, but on the surface he smiled brightly. How about it? Do you want to stay? You can eat enough if you stay. Zhang Fan has made up his mind that as long as Tien refuses, he will kill people immediately. Because her ability is so special. If Tien was not willing to stay here, Zhang Fan would not be able to restrict her actions. And Tien has seen too many abilities of his own. No matter what, Zhang Fan could not let such a powerful ability user go beyond his control. If the teleportation ability is used for assassination, Zhang Fan may not be able to withstand it. If Tien surrenders to the enemy, Zhang Fan will be in big trouble. So, now she only has 2 choices left. Or, surrender. Or, die. Tien didn't know that she was already on the verge of death. If given a choice, of course she would not agree. However, the world today is no longer the same as before. Even if the 2 of them escape, what will happen? She often goes out to collect supplies and sees a lot of dark things. In some places, people still reluctantly abide by the previous order. But there are also many places where order has actually broken down. The strong control everything. What's worse is that even if you obey the strong man's orders, it is difficult to eat enough. Because of lack of food. Many times, even the strong themselves find it difficult to ensure 3 meals a day. Things are different here in Zhang Fan. Tien is not stupid. She is also secretly observing the mental state and physical condition of the 4 girls. Obviously, these women live a prosperous life. They even have the time to put on makeup, wear fashionable clothes, and dress themselves up. This is a manifestation of extremely abundant material life. In other words, Zhang Fan is definitely capable of providing women with enough supplies. Where did he get the supplies? Tien rolled his eyes. Did you take the merchandise from Yida Plaza? Zhang Fan smiled lightly. Smart, that's just a small part of it. While several people were chatting, Coke walked up to Bai Yan. Meow, woof woof, meow, woof woof woof. Zhang Fan decided to find time to try. Zhang Fan looked at his phone. It was 3:30 in the morning. I can't sleep anyway, so I might as well get up and do something serious. Zhang Fan took out a set of thick mountain climbing clothes from the space and put them on. He returned to his rental house and rushed up happily with his eyes rolled. Zhang Fan took out a few slices of steak and threw them to Bai Yan, who jumped up and down with joy. Don't let anyone else come in while I'm not here. Byakugan seemed to understand. Woof woof. Zhang Fan rubbed the dog's head, stood up, and made a stroke in the air with his finger. A huge blue membrane appears leading to the warp. Woof woof. Bayan jumped back nervously and looked at the blue film curiously. Coke lay calmly on the ground. You ignorant stupid dog. Zhang Fan opened the map on his mobile phone and entered the subspace. The NSA should have guns. Where is the nearest NSA? Zhang Fan stood in the subspace and felt like he was standing in a huge water droplet. He could see the buildings and roads outside, but their shapes were constantly twisting, shaking, and tangled together, like a painting stained by water. If you want to find the target location, you have to carefully distinguish it from a group of deformed objects. Zhang Fan finally found the location of the National Security Bureau, and then discovered the second problem. Since the buildings in the physical space are constantly twisting like water plants on the bottom of a river when viewed from the subspace, it is extremely difficult to accurately locate them. If he accidentally opened the portal into the wall or under the ground, Tien wouldn't be able to get out. Moreover, Tien can only open the door twice a day, and must leave one home. Then she only has one chance to try every day. Once she drives to an inappropriate location such as the ground, wall, or high altitude, she can only wait another day. Zhang Fan smiled slightly. It doesn't matter to me, I can go through walls anyway. Zhang Fan casually opened the portal 3 meters underground to the National Security Bureau. Disappear. Zhang Fan's heart moved and he calmly walked out of the portal. He did not come to the ground immediately. Because in his perception, there were dozens of survivors in the National Security Bureau, gathered in several rooms on the 3rd floor. There are actually 3 superpowers among them. Zhang Fan carefully observed these 3 superpowers. The 3 people were 2 men and 1 woman. Judging from the costumes, 1 man and 1 woman should be members of the National Security Bureau. The other man is an old man in his 70s. The ginger of the male safety team member and the old man is green, just like Zhang Fan. The brightness of the light on the 2 of them was average, only slightly stronger than that of ordinary people. The ginger in the female security team member's body is a gray color, and the light on her body is extremely bright. Although he is still about twice as bad as Zhang Fan, he is already the strongest superpower Zhang Fan has ever seen. Zhang Fan was very cautious and did not approach the 3 of them rashly. He observed it and quickly found the location of the gun and ammunition storage room. Zhang Fan immediately walked through the underground. Soon, he entered a basement. There are 4 large iron cabinets in the room, which use fingerprint recognition plus mechanical key to unlock. Through his perception, Zhang Fan saw 2 large iron cabinets containing neat rifles and pistols. The other 2 were bullets. The guns and ammunition were all neatly arranged, and they looked like they had not been touched. Longguo has very strict management of guns, and guns are managed by specialized gun warehouse managers. Around the time when the red mist came, the warehouse manager had an accident and the gun was not taken out at all. Mine. Zhang Fan laughed. He wanted to put away the iron cabinet, but failed. He pushed the cabinet with his hand and found that the cabinet was fixed to the wall with expansion screws. Only independent items can be received in the carry-on space. Zhang Fan found a crowbar from his pocket and inserted it into the gap between the wall and the cabinet. Open it for me. Zhang Fan used force and pried out a big gap. After several times in a row, he forcefully pried the cabinet off the wall. Pinghai Road National Security Bureau. Third floor. 3 psychics sat around a small table. Jong Zin glanced at the survivors' rooms worriedly and said, "Everyone's situation is very bad. We have to leave here. It's getting harder and harder to collect food here." Lu Gangfeng, a male security team member, took a sip of purified water, carefully looked around to make sure no one was paying attention, and then whispered, "Zilin, I've said it a long time ago, we can't save so many people. In this situation, it's good that we can take care of ourselves." "Lao Yang, are you right?" Yang Jiawei nodded and bowed. "I listened to the 2 chiefs." Lu Gangfeng disdains. Whispering sound. Flatterer. Jong Zin corrected. "Uncle Yang, I'm just an ordinary security team member, not the leader." Yang Jiawei smiled apologetically and said, "Hey, it's the same, it's the same. Old Yang's life was saved by the 2 leaders. Just do whatever you say." Yang Jiawei is a security guard who works in a nearby community. "After the red mist fell, I accidentally gained superpowers after eating a black lychee, and I could hear very subtle sounds. Relying on this ability, Yang Jiawei barely survived. Later, Jong Zin followed the orders of her superiors and organized people to rescue the surrounding survivors, and rescued Yang Jiawei." Jong Zin said firmly, "According to the order, we must send these survivors to the nearest TV station gathering point." Lu Gangfeng was very angry. "Now we can't contact our superiors, who knows what the situation is at the TV station? When did this happen? Are you still stubborn enough to act on orders? Are you crazy?" Jong Zin shook her head stubbornly. "No, I will act according to the final order. If you want to leave, you can leave by yourself. I won't stop you." Lu Gangfeng was extremely depressed. If he couldn't defeat Jong Zin, he would have wanted to take Jong Zin away by force and leave these losers behind. Of course, just thinking about it. Jong Zilin's family is a martial arts practitioner. She once won the 3rd place in women's sanda in the country, plus she has superpowers. Lu Gangfeng dared to take action and was beaten into a pig's head in minutes. If it weren't for Jong Zilin's good looks and Lu Gangfeng still having some thoughts about her, he would have run away long ago. Lu Gangfeng tried hard to persuade him. "Zilin, let's." Jong Zin interrupted him seriously. "Lu Gangfeng, let me say it again. Don't call me Zilin. We are not lovers. This is inappropriate." Lu Gangfeng was very depressed. Jong Zin continued, "We have too few weapons. Animals are getting stronger and stronger. In order to better protect the people, I think the top priority now is to get the guns in the warehouse." Lu Gangfeng sighed. "The firearms storage room is in the basement. It has a 2-story security door. You can't get in without a key. Lao Wang has been unable to be contacted. He is probably dead. There is really no good solution." Jong Zin said calmly, "You have to find a way even if you have no choice." Lu Gangfeng, "I just came to this bureau. You are an old man in the bureau and you are familiar with the environment. Think about it, is there any other way to get in? For example, the ventilation duct." Lu Gangfeng was helpless. "Beauty Zhang, that's a gun storage room. It's safer than our director's office. How could there be such a big loophole?" At this moment, Yang Jiawei suddenly said, "Chief, I heard a sound underground. A loud crash." Lu Gangfeng's expression changed. He immediately took out his pistol and became nervous. Jong Zin immediately became serious. "Is it an underground creature?" Yang Jiawei listened carefully for a while and said doubtfully, "It shouldn't be an animal. It sounds like the sound of metal hitting. It seems like someone is smashing something. Someone is breaking things underground. Is the corpse fake?" Lu Gangfeng couldn't help but shuddered and said in panic, "Lao Yang, don't talk nonsense." He didn't believe in ghosts before, but now the world is getting weirder and weirder, and he is also afraid. Jong Zin asked in a deep voice. "Where?" "Over there." Yang Jiawei pointed in one direction on the ground. "About 3 or 4 meters underground." Jong Zin looked in the direction of his finger and said doubtfully, "Lu Gangfeng, is the gun storage room over there?" Lu Gangfeng was stunned for a moment, and then he realized. "Yes, it's right over there, and the depth is about the same. Someone is stealing a gun." Jong Zilin's expression suddenly became serious. "The world is so chaotic now. Once guns leak out, we will be in big trouble. No, this must never happen." Jong Zin climbed over the window like a gust of wind, jumped down from the third floor, and quickly rushed to the gun storage room. Moreover, she was also curious about how the other party entered the storage room. Zhang Fan pried off the 4 large cabinets with satisfaction. Then he violently opened a cabinet, took out a pistol, and touched a few of them with surprise. Dark and heavy. This was the first time he had touched a real gun, and he was very curious. At this moment, Zhang Fan suddenly turned his head and looked at the ceiling. During the perception, the brightness of the female superpower increased rapidly, almost reaching the brightness of Zhang Fan. The female superpower rushed over quickly. Zhang Fan was surprised. Can all this be discovered? He couldn't figure out the other party's abilities and didn't want to take risks, so he opened a portal and walked into the subspace. Zhang Fan did not close the door immediately. He stood in the subspace and looked at the iron door with his perception. Outside the iron gate, the female superpower has a very hot figure, her legs are straight and toned, and her buttocks are raised high, full of healthy beauty. But Zhang Fan would not take the risk of accepting her. Zhang Fan still stayed away from such a powerful woman. If she makes a sneak attack, Zhang Fan might really get caught. There are women everywhere, there's absolutely no need to take any risks. At this time, Zhang Fan felt that his physical strength was rapidly depleting. It turns out that staying in subspace consumes physical energy. With his own comprehensive physique, he can feel the consumption. With Tien's comprehensive physique, it is estimated that he will not be able to stay in the subspace for a few seconds. Zhang Fan no longer delayed, found the location of Yida Plaza, and opened a door. I remember that there are big-name mattresses on the 3rd floor of Yida Plaza. There are more women, so there must be enough mattresses. The gun room fell silent. Jong Zin banged on the big iron door, but there was no movement inside. She can only be helpless and furious. People inside, listen, if you can, don't come out, otherwise I will catch you. A few minutes later, Lu Gangfang and Yang Jiawei arrived holding flashlights. Lu Gangfang asked, "Didn't catch it." Zhang Zin was very angry. "He won't come out." Yang Jiawei listened carefully. There seemed to be no one. I didn't hear any human breathing. Zhang Zin was very annoyed. Impossible. I was watching from the door. How did he run away? Lu Gangfang checked the iron gate and found no traces of man-made damage. If he can get in, he will naturally have a way to leave. I suspect he is a person with supernatural powers. His ability is probably to drill holes in the ground or something like that. Zhang Zin also thought of this and frowned. Then he probably took the gun away. Dwang. Lu Gangfang kicked the big iron door hard, but it didn't move at all. He said helplessly. He obviously came here just for the gun. Zhang Zin said with a cold face. As long as he dares to use a gun, I can find him and arrest him. Ordinary citizens are not allowed to use guns. This is the iron law of the Dragon Kingdom. Zhang Zin is very confident in her own strength. The opponent's ability is obviously a skill such as digging the ground, so his frontal combat effectiveness is not much stronger. Lu Gangfang was speechless. Catch him. People can burrow into the ground, how do you catch them? And even if we catch him, what will happen? Where to keep him? Send to jail. Where is the prison now? Yang Jiawei looked around worriedly. There were ferocious plants growing everywhere, and he felt very unsafe. Leader, let's go back. The new portal that Zhang Fan opened casually was far off, and opened directly over Yida Plaza. Zhongfan.com looked down and saw that about 5 meters below was the roof of Yida Plaza, which was covered with various facilities such as central air conditioning outdoor units. If it were Tien, the door would probably have been opened in vain and she wouldn't be able to get out at all. Zhang Fan simply jumped out of the blue portal and landed on an outdoor machine. Perception unfolds. He checked carefully and discovered to his surprise that there were hundreds of people hiding in Yida Plaza. Why are they hiding here? There isn't much food here. Zhang Fan felt a little baffled. These people were hiding everywhere, scattered in various shops in Yida Plaza. Everyone was huddled in the corner, as if they were hiding from something. Zhang Fan became cautious. He examined it carefully with his senses. Found nothing. Zhang Fan instinctively felt that there was danger. With so many people hiding, there was no way there would be no problems at all. He felt a little hesitant. Zhang Fan was debating whether to leave immediately, when an orange cat broke into his perception. The orange cat is as big as a large SUV, and its body exudes dazzling light like the sun, which is much brighter than the light on Zhang Fan. If Zhang Fan's combat power is 1, then orange cat is at least 5. Zhang Fan's expression became serious. This is the strongest animal he has ever discovered, much more powerful than the mutated frog in the fortune center. The silly dog husky at home is even more incomparable. That stupid dog is a shameful mutant beast. Ever since I recognized my lord, I have been lazy and have gained weight on my belly. As for the group of red giant birds that attacked the transport plane that day, the distance was too far, beyond the range of perception, and Zhang Fan could not estimate it at all. The orange cat walked leisurely into the lobby on the first floor, licked its paws, and walked towards Yida Plaza. Suddenly, it waved its claws towards a corner. Ah! A woman was swept out with her head covered. She screamed in fright, stumbled and wanted to run away. The orange cat slapped her back again. The woman turned somersaults 7 or 8 times on the ground before stopping. The orange cat jumped over happily, lying next to the woman and watching, just like a cat teasing a mouse. The woman could not bear the pain and wanted to pretend to be dead and get through. The orange cat is unhappy. He lifted the woman up with his claws, and the sharp cat claws cut a long bloody gash on the woman's chest. The woman screamed and crawled away in pain. The orange cat became happy again and followed the woman slowly without killing her, just teasing her. Whenever a woman goes to a corner, bring her back. Whenever the woman pretends to be dead, he picks her up with his paws and continues playing with her. A few minutes later, the woman was dead and lying motionless on the ground. The orange cat fiddled with her a few times with his paws, and then lost interest when he found that the woman still didn't move. After a while, the orange cat grabbed another unlucky guy from the corner and played with it to death. Then catch him again, and then play to death. After playing to death for 7 or 8 times, the orange cat probably had enough fun and slowly left through the main entrance. Zhang Fan calmly watched the orange cat leave the range of perception before jumping across the floor to the 5th floor. He wanted to leave just now, but he saw his ex-girlfriend Song Xian. Even though he could only see the outline, Zhang Fan recognized her immediately. Having known Song Xian for so long, I have long been familiar with the details of her body. The orange cat was indeed stronger than the mutant frog, but it did not pose much of a threat to Zhang Fan. The mutated frog can use its tongue to sneak attack from a long distance outside the sensing range, making Zhang Fan very difficult to defend against. The orange cat must be close to him in order to pose a threat. Even so, Zhang Fan had enough means to save his life. Whether it is blurring and escaping underground, or opening the door to enter the subspace, the orange cat can return without success. Zhang Fan also had some insights. Ability restraint is more effective than simple comprehensive physical fitness. Zhang Fan walked around the 5th floor. There are very few businesses on the 5th floor, only Yida Cinema. Now, the entire Yida Plaza is plunged into darkness. The survivors in the corner heard Zhang Fan's footsteps and did not dare to come out to see. Zhang Fan didn't stay long and came to the 4th floor again. The 4th floor is the food floor. All the food had been looted by the survivors. Zhang Fan continued to go downstairs. He crossed the floor and landed on the 3rd floor, then walked straight in the direction of Song Xian. Soon, Zhang Fan met Song Xian. He took out his flashlight and shot it. Song Xian and Song Yuanfan were lying on the ground. They had been in darkness for a long time, and were suddenly illuminated by bright light, unable to open their eyes at all. Song Yuanfan sat up, blocked the light with his hand, and said cautiously, What are you doing?" Song Xian also struggled to hold herself up and looked over with squinted eyes in pain. She vaguely saw the figure of a man standing behind the flashlight, but she couldn't see who it was against the light. Another group of survivors were 2 men. They also looked at Zhang Fan in confusion. Who dares to wander outside with a flashlight now, without fear of that weird cat? Lying in another corner was a man and a woman, both dead, their bodies smelling stinky. Zhang Fan looked at Song Xian. Now, with unkempt hair, sallow complexion, and chapped lips, she has no trace of the charm of a 7-point beauty. How could I be fascinated by this kind of woman? Zhang Fan reviewed himself and walked into the room. As soon as I entered the door, I smelled a foul smell. These people probably relieved themselves in the room. Zhang Fan covered his nose in disgust. Song Xian, you're still alive, I'm really surprised. Song Xian was stunned for a moment and said in surprise. Zhang Fan, you are Zhang Fan, give me something to eat. For you to eat, Zhang Fan sneered. He leisurely turned the flashlight into camping mode and placed it on the table. The whole room lit up. Everyone finally saw Zhang Fan's appearance clearly. The face is rosy, the skin is smooth, the hair is neat, and the clothes are clean. There is no trace of the apocalypse in him. Just like ordinary people who go shopping at Yida Plaza on weekends. The other two male survivors opened their eyes wide. This man must have something to eat. The two of them looked at each other, their eyes flashing fiercely, but their hands secretly moved towards the dagger underneath them. I'm saved. Song Xian immediately saw the hope of escaping and cried bitterly. Zhang Fan, why are you here? Do you know how long I have been hungry? Give me something to eat. Get me out of here. Song Yuanfan grabbed Zhang Fan's sleeve and shouted. Quick, give me a drink. I'm so thirsty. What the hell are you still looking at here? Hurry up. Boom. Zhang Fan kicked Song Yuanfan in the stomach. Song Yuanfan flew out without saying a word, hit the wall, and slowly slid down after a few seconds. There was no breath left when he landed. Zhang Fan said calmly. It's really not polite to touch people with such dirty hands. Song Xian didn't know that Song Yuanfan was dead yet, so she pointed at Zhang Fan and screamed. Zhang Fan, he is your brother-in-law, how dare you hit him? He turned against you. Zhang Fan suddenly reached out and grabbed her hand. Click. Song Xian's palm was folded at a strange angle, and the back of her hand was tightly attached to her forearm. Ah! Song Xian almost fainted from the pain. Zhang Fan smiled lightly and said, I don't like being pointed at. The two male survivors took advantage of Zhang Fan's back to them and quietly stood up. They had just taken 2 steps when they felt a flash of white light in front of their eyes and their consciousness fell into darkness. Zhang Fan shook off the blood on the dagger and threw it into the portable space. At this time, the two bodies collapsed to the ground, and blood flowed all over the ground. Killed. Song Xian's eyes widened in horror, like a duck having its throat pinched. She finally realized that the Zhang Fan in front of her seemed completely different from before. Don't kill me, it was my fault before, don't kill me, woo woo woo. Zhang Fan patted Song Xian's cheek and said with a smile. Don't be stupid, I don't kill women. Song Xian's face turned pale and she breathed a sigh of relief. Poof, a dagger stabbed her chest. Song Xian looked at Zhang Fan in disbelief. You said you won't kill. She felt her body strength disappear rapidly. Zhang Fan blinked innocently. Ah, did I say that? I forgot, I'm sorry. You lied to me. Song Xian died with great resentment. Zhang Fan looked at Song Xian coldly and waited for a long time, but there was no prompt from the system. Even though Song Xian is dead, the return rate has not been reduced. This is a good thing. A dangerous smile appeared in the corner of Zhang Fan's eyes. If this is the case, there will be much room for maneuver. For example, for a dangerous woman like Jong Zin, you can use her to increase the return multiplier first, and then kill her. It's an advantage for you. Zhang Fan took one last look at Song Xian's body, and then walked into the darkness with a flashlight. He strolled around the 3rd floor, and most of the goods in the store were messed up by the survivors. Including the mattress store, it was also occupied by a group of survivors, and the store was filled with feces and urine. Zhang Fan took one look and left in disgust. When he walked to the dark place, he turned on the void and sank into the ground, rushing towards the center of wealth. Several survivors looked at each other. That person just left. He held up a flashlight. The strange cat didn't kill him. Is it the fault of the cat leaving? I haven't heard any screams yet. The strange cat shouldn't be at the door. If he can leave, so can we. Everyone looked at each other. 2 people gritted their teeth and ran out. A few minutes later, the screams of 2 people came from the door. Ah, help, help, everyone was dumbfounded. The strange cat is still guarding the door. Then how did that person leave just now? After a while, Zhang Fan returned to the wealth center. After a lot of back and forth, it's not even 5 a.m. yet. Zhang Fan decided not to go home yet and went to the other 2 buildings of the Fortune Center to check on the situation. His perception range is 100 meters, and he can barely see part of the floors of Tower A and Tower B, but it is not comprehensive. It would be better to go and see with your own eyes. Maybe there are some good women out there that you can take. Zhang Fan came to the bottom of the swimming pool first. The mutated frog is still lying in the swimming pool. In Zhang Fan's perception, it was like a bright flame, very eye-catching in the night. What is this? Zhang Fan suddenly discovered that there were densely packed small light spots swimming around the mutated frog. It has a body as big as a palm, a round head, a tail and 2 legs. Looking at its appearance, it seems to be tadpole. Zhang Fan was surprised. This mutant frog actually laid eggs. And tadpoles develop at an alarming rate. He passed by the swimming pool the day before yesterday and hadn't seen any tadpoles yet. Did you grow back legs today? Wouldn't it be possible to turn into a frog in 2 or 3 days? The size of this kind of tadpole is definitely abnormal, and most likely it has inherited the combined physique of a mutated frog. What about superpowers? Could tadpoles inherit the superpowers of mutated frogs? Zhang Fan's expression became serious. A mutated frog would be dangerous. If it's a group, then the fortune center really won't be able to stay any longer. Zhang Fan had no good solution for the time being, so he headed to Block A without looking further. He came to the underground of Building B, found an empty room, and jumped all the way up. Finally stopped on the 5th floor. Zhang Fan carefully observed the status of survivors in the entire building. Like Tower C, almost no one lives below the 21st floor of Tower B. However, the people in Tower B are concentrated on the 2 floors above the 32nd floor. All doors on the 32nd and 33rd floors are open. No one lives in the corridor, everyone lives in the room, but most of them are 10 people crowded into one room, and many people have their hands and feet tied with ropes. Zhang Fan observed for a while and found no particularly outstanding-looking girl, so he headed to Block A. As usual, Zhang Fan went to the 5th floor of Tower A to observe the entire building. The situation in Tower A is different from that in Towers B and C. Everyone lives above the 22nd floor, but no one in Building B can open the security door, so they are crowded into occupied houses. The unoccupied houses were empty, while the occupied houses were mostly occupied by 5 or 6 people. It seems that someone is coordinating housing matters. Zhang Fan took one look and understood that someone was definitely managing the organization. Moreover, this kind of management is somewhat coercive, otherwise normal people would not be able to allow others to enter their houses. Interesting. Zhang Fan walked out of the empty room and walked up the stairs step by step. The stairwell on the 21st floor was piled with debris, as if to defend against the attack of some kind of animal. When we reached the 25th floor, the door of the residence room next to the staircase suddenly opened, and a very feminine beauty came out. Zhang Fan couldn't help but be attracted to her. The woman's appearance is not outstanding, at least not comparable to that of Tang Shiru and other girls. She can only be considered pretty. Her figure is neither fat nor thin, her size is not exaggerated, and her legs are not particularly perfect, even a little thick. But her every move is particularly attractive. By Shinji. Age: 23. Quality: 9 points, full of femininity. Women's virtue: 10 points, to be in the boudoir. Comprehensive score: 9 points. Zhang Fan's eyes lit up. Ah! By Shinji exclaimed in fright. She didn't expect there was someone outside. Zhang Fan stared at her unabashedly. By Shinji's eyes are very gentle, with a hint of natural fear and grievance, making people want to protect her in her arms at the first sight. By Shinji looked at Zhang Fan nervously, being stared at by an aggressive man, which made her very uncomfortable. For a moment, By Shinji didn't know whether she should go home or continue what she had done before. So he froze in place. Zhang Fan looked up and down at By Shinji unscrupulously. By Shinji was very shy, but she was not very angry because Zhang Fan was more handsome. By Shinji suddenly recognized Zhang Fan. "Sir, are you the clerk at that convenience store?" Zhang Fan smiled and nodded. "It's me, Fatty, whose convenience store is right at the entrance of the community. There are many people who know me." By Shinji whispered. "Is it you who will provide food and accommodation?" Zhang Fan looked at By Shinji as if he were looking at a piece of delicious food, and said with a smile. "So smart. Some time ago, when the internet was still disconnected, with Jong Fan's appearance, the news spread that the convenience store clerk provided food and accommodation. Some people in the group knew about it. By Shinji thought of the food in exchange for women practice of providing food and housing, and couldn't help but feel a little scared. She held the bag in her arms tightly with both hands to block it in front of her chest, and wanted to go home. But thinking about the situation at home, she hesitated again and said bravely, "Sir, do you still have something to eat? Can I change a little?" Jong Fan smiled and said, "Oh, what did you exchange for it?" By Shinji looked around and whispered, "A black lychee. I saw you buying it in the group. I have seen one, but I don't know if it is the black lychee you mentioned." Black lychee. Jong Fan immediately became serious and stared at By Shinji. There was a yellow light shining on her body, and she looked harmless, not like she was lying to herself. "Where?" By Shinji immediately made a request. "I want instant noodles, ham sausage and chocolate." As soon as Jong Fan heard the news about the enlightenment fruit, he instantly regained his composure. "No problem. I'll give you 3 packs of instant noodles, 3 ham sausages, and 3 pieces of chocolate." By Shinji gritted her teeth and said, "I also need anti-fever and anti-inflammatory medicine, my brother is sick." Jong Fan sneered. "By Shinji, don't push yourself too far." In fact, to Jong Fan, it didn't matter what she wanted, she had to get the fruit of enlightenment first. She couldn't run away anyway. By Shinji was a little scared, but thinking about her brother who was suffering from a high fever, she couldn't care less and said firmly, "I don't need food, but I have to take medicine. Although my brother treats me badly, he is my brother after all." In this situation, without a man in the family, she doesn't know how she can survive. Jong Fan pretended to ponder for a moment, but looked towards By Shinji's house. In perception, there are 5 people living in By Shinji's home. In the master bedroom, an old lady was guarding a man. The man was lying on the bed. His body was very dim. He must be sick. He was probably By Shinji's brother. The 3 people in the second bedroom looked like a family of 3, and they should be survivors who were forcibly arranged to enter. Jong Fan said, "By Shinji, you are so anxious, someone in your family is seriously ill." By Shinji looked gloomy, obviously acquiescing. "Huh." By Shinji reacted a little later. "How do you know my name?" Jong Fan did not explain, but said directly, "I have to get the black lychee first before I give you anything." By Shinji said fearfully, "It's in the community, but it's on the ground. I don't dare to go out. I'll tell you the location and you can go get it yourself, okay?" Outside, Jong Fan refused. "No, you have to come with me. Now is the end of the world, surrounded by dangers and unpredictable people. Who knows if this woman will dig a hole for herself? He must take By Shinji with him to find the black lychee. In case of danger, you can control it as a hostage." By Shinji bit her red lips and said bravely, "Okay, I'll just show you, we can't get close." Jong Fan frowned, sounding dangerous. "Where exactly?" By Shinji shook her head and said firmly, "You have to give me something first before I can tell you." Jong Fan laughed. "I gave it to you and took it back, what can you do as a woman?" "Good, then I'll take you to see it." By Shinji gritted her teeth and said, "You must give me the things, and don't be cheating, otherwise I will. You must give me the things anyway." By Shinji thought about it for a long time but didn't know how to threaten Jong Fan, so she could only give up in embarrassment. Jong Fan almost burst out laughing. "This woman is not very smart. Come downstairs quickly." Jong Fan was too lazy to answer her and pointed to the stairs. By Shinji was in front, and Jong Fan was following behind. By Shinji's waist is very soft and looks good when twisted. Jong Fan admired it calmly. By Shinji seemed to feel Jong Fan's gaze. She blushed and walked a few steps quickly, as if she wanted to stay away from Jong Fan. Jong Fan didn't stop him and followed him with a smile. He looked calm on the surface, but in fact he was concentrating on his perception, making sure that no one around him would sneak up on him. The two quickly reached the 21st floor. Red mist billows slowly in the stairwell. By Shinji became frightened, slowed down her pace, and took the initiative to get closer to Jong Fan. Jong Fan smiled. "Why are you so close to me again, and you are not afraid that I will eat you?" By Shinji was a little flustered. What are you talking about? She thought of Zhang Fan's remarks in the group and felt regretful. Why did I follow this man downstairs? What if he has bad thoughts? Snapped. Zhang Fan suddenly kicked and stomped heavily on the ground. By Shinji was startled and looked at Zhang Fan with horrified eyes. What's wrong? Zhang Fan calmly raised his feet. Step on bugs. A palm-sized cockroach was trampled to pieces on the ground. By Shinji became even more frightened and quickened her pace. The two came to the hall. The effect of the herbicide is almost invisible. The plants have completely returned to their former glory. There were stumbling bushes everywhere, and the weeds were once again waist-deep. By Shinji checked her trousers to make sure they were tightly tied before going out carefully. Zhang Fan focused his attention on the mutated frog with his senses, always preparing to enter the virtual state. This place has entered the attack range of the mutant frog. If he encounters danger, Zhang Fan will definitely dive underground and escape without hesitation. As for By Shinji, she can only hope for happiness. By Shinji walked dozens of meters with difficulty, insects flying everywhere. Only then did Zhang Fan discover that there was a strange purple mushroom in the community. The mushroom was as big as a barbecue restaurant parasol, and the tallest one could grow up to 3 meters. Some huge fireflies hover among the purple mushrooms, adding a mysterious atmosphere to the community. Zhang Fan frowned and carefully avoided the position of the mushroom. Nowadays, there are more and more types of plants, so stay away from anything unfamiliar. And this is a mushroom, who knows if it is poisonous or not? He doesn't want to just lie back and watch the villain. By Shinji stepped on a half-meter-high purple mushroom, pointed in the direction of the swimming pool and said, "It's right next to the swimming pool over there, under a public bench. I came out after spraying herbicide that day and saw it. But there was a big frog sleeping in the swimming pool at that time, and I didn't dare to go there." By Shinji is still a bit clever. After she found out that day, she didn't tell anyone, she just kept it secretly in her heart. She originally wanted to contact Food and Housing to provide food for her family. As a result, there was a power outage and the internet was cut off very quickly, so we were delayed. As for the mutated frog, Zhang Fan immediately believed it. If it were somewhere else, it might have been picked off by other survivors. But no one dares to go over to the mutated frog. In other words, someone passed by and just got into the belly of the mutated frog. Zhang Fan used his senses to carefully check the direction of the swimming pool. Soon, he found black lychees under the bench next to the swimming pool. The black lychee is just a ball the size of a ping pong. Now it is covered with plants everywhere. Zhang Fan has never noticed it. In addition, the bench was very short, surrounded by dense plants, and the mutated frog was so big and tall that it didn't even notice it right under its nose. Of course, it could also be that frogs have poor static vision. Zhang Fan secretly guessed, if the mutated frog can't see stationary things clearly, maybe this shortcoming can be used to kill it. Zhang Fan took out 2 boxes of food such as cephalosporins and instant noodles and handed them to By Shinji. "Okay, you go back." By Shinji was surprised. "You haven't seen the black lychee yet. Aren't you afraid that I will lie to you?" Zhang Fan Yang smiled handsomely and said solemnly, "I trust you." By Shinji was inexplicably moved. Neither my mother nor my brother trusted me that much, and they suspected me of stealing food every day. She looked at Zhang Fan's handsome face, and her heart beat faster for no reason. "Then I'm going back. You, don't worry, I won't tell anyone about the black lychee." She ran away in panic. Zhang Fan stared at By Shinji's back. A little green light actually appeared on the woman's body. This woman is too easy to deceive. By Shinji went upstairs. Zhang Fan withdrew his gaze and immediately put the woman's affairs behind him. He sank into the ground and quickly approached the black fruit. In the last days, strength is far more important than women. When Zhang Fan approached the swimming pool about 10 meters away, the mutant frog suddenly stood up and jumped to the ground above Zhang Fan's head. "Gua, gua," the mutated frog screamed loudly, as if warning something. Zhang Fan immediately sank quickly to the ground, sinking dozens of meters. The mutant frog calmed down and went back to sleep in the swimming pool again. Zhang Fan frowned. This thing's perception is so strong. This is trouble. Zhang Fan glanced at the black lychee and could only give up temporarily. Without absolute certainty, he would not take risks. When he returned home, Xu Mengqian had already gotten up and was making breakfast. Xu Mengqian saw Zhang Fan and said happily, "Brother Zhang, you are back. Breakfast will be ready soon. Please wait a moment." This woman didn't know how she brainwashed herself. The light on her body was as green as emerald. Zhang Fan was very satisfied, took out a void fruit and said, "Eat the wall-piercing fruit as your reward." Coincidentally, the void fruit has been consumed to the tune of 7,788, and needs to be replenished. For Xu Mengqian, the surprise came too suddenly. She thanked him repeatedly, and then ate the hollow fruit. Ding! Xu Mengqian consumes 1 enlightenment fruit, virtualization, and returns 700 fruits. It has been put into the portable space. Zhang Fan guided her to experiment with walking through a wall again. Xu Mengqian's eyes almost turned pale when she looked at Zhang Fan, and the green light on her body became even purer. Zhang Fan sat on the sofa and habitually took a handful of enlightenment fruit and ate it. Woof woof woof. The husky rolled his eyes and suddenly started barking. Zhang Fan took a look and saw that it was standing in the wall hole of the next room wagging its tail. After it mutated, it seemed to be much smarter. If Zhang Fan didn't let it enter this room, it would never come. The women were very scared at first, but later they relaxed a lot when they found that Bai Yan was very obedient. Woof woof woof. Staring at the enlightenment fruit in Zhang Fan's hand with white eyes, it jumped and danced, as if asking for credit from Zhang Fan. Zhang Fan laughed. "You want to eat too?" Woof. Zhang Fan thought for a while and felt that Bai Yan had performed well during this period, so he waved. "Come over." Bai Yan immediately rushed out of the hole in the wall, jumped in front of Zhang Fan, stared at the fruit of enlightenment in Zhang Fan's hand, and laughed all over the floor. Zhang Fan was also curious about how animals mutated, and whether they also ate the enlightenment fruit. He took out a handful of hollow fruit and placed it on the ground. "Eat." He rolled his eyes and lowered his head. Click, click. I ate it all in just a few bites. Soon, Bai Yan seemed to feel the change and tilted his head to look at Zhang Fan. Suddenly, its body sank into the ground. It was so frightened that it rolled its eyes, screamed, and fell down. Sure enough, the enlightenment fruit is effective on animals. Zhang Fan thought to himself, and followed him through the floor and landed on the 31st floor. Bai Yan was standing on the ground, looking at Zhang Fan in confusion, and then at his paws. It didn't seem to understand what was happening. It tried to scratch the ground and soon found that its claws could actually pass through the floor. Probably animal instinct. Byakugan quickly mastered the method of passing through the wall. It slammed into the wall and passed directly through it. Woof woof woof. I'm awesome. Byakugan's excited shouts came from next door. Being held in a room for the past few days, it was almost going crazy, and immediately ran through the wall and went crazy. Zhang Fan shouted, "Just play on this floor, don't go downstairs." I don't know if Byakugan can understand it. It doesn't matter if you don't understand. Anyway, there is no one else above the 28th floor. If seen by others, if you see it, you will see it. Who can deal with this thing? A few minutes later, Bai Yan ran back out of breath, collapsed in front of Zhang Fan with his legs crossed, and his tongue stuck out. Going through the wall will consume a lot of physical strength, and even the mutant husky's physical strength cannot bear it. Zhang Fan took out a large handful of void fruits and a large handful of perception fruits and placed them on the ground. Byakugan immediately started eating happily. After eating the fruit of perception, Bayan immediately felt different. It looked at Zhang Fan in confusion, wondering why its master was glowing. Zhang Fan rubbed his dog's head and walked through the ceiling back home. By Shinji returned home excitedly. Brother Bai Yongxin was lying on the bed, his face sallow. Mother Zheng Hongxia said angrily, "You wake up early in the morning and go out for a run. What are you doing? Your brother is so sick, and you still run around." Bai Yongxin stared at his sister weakly, but he was too sick to speak. Bai Shinji said aggrievedly, "I'm going to find something to eat." Zheng Hongxia slapped her on the bed. "How dare you lie to me? Where are you going to find food at a time like this?" Bai Shinji had tears in her eyes, bit her red lips and said, "Look." She opened the bag and revealed the food. Not only is there food, but there is also medicine. Zheng Hongxia was stunned for a moment. "What medicine?" Bai Shinji said, Cephalosporin may be useful for my brother's disease. Zheng Hongxia was surprised. Quick, quick, quick. Give it to your brother. Bai Yongxin also seemed to have gained strength and struggled hard. Give me medicine. Give me medicine quickly. By Shinji helped her brother take the medicine and took out a pack of instant noodles. Give it to me quickly. Bai Yongxin's eyes flashed as he grabbed it and ate it. His face was covered with crumbs and he fell off the bed. Zheng Hongxia looked at her son kindly. Eat more and you will feel better faster. Bai Shinji felt heartbroken. Food is precious now, how can it be wasted like this? She carefully picked up the instant noodle crumbs one by one from the sheets and put them in a bowl. Bai Yongxin ate instant noodles and medicine and managed to regain some energy. Then he lay back on the bed and asked, "What did you replace it with?" "This." Bai Shinji hesitated. She promised Zhang Fan not to say anything about the black lychee. Bai Yongxin frowned. "What's not good to say? Who gave it to you?" Zheng Hongxia also became suspicious. Now that food is so precious, who would give it to outsiders? She opened Bai Shinji's bag and took a look. There are still 2 packages of instant noodles, 3 ham sausages, and 3 pieces of chocolate left. Plus 2 boxes of cephalosporins. These supplies are a huge sum of money. Bai Shinji didn't know how to explain, and Nuo lowered her head and didn't dare to speak. Zheng Hongxia's face became serious. "Tell me, who gave it to you?" Bai Shinji bit her lower lip. "Don't worry about it, as long as you have something to eat." Bai Yongxin stared at her and suddenly said, "You went out to sell." Bai Shinji was stunned for a moment and said angrily, "Brother, what are you talking about?" Bai Yongxin sneered. "Huh, you can't get anything out of it, so why should others give you food and medicine? Don't you know how precious food is now?" Bai Shinji was shocked and said, "Mom, look what my brother said about me." Zheng Hongxia stared at Bai Shinji for a long time and said quietly, "You just sold it, why don't you dare to admit it? It's a shameful thing. Besides her body, what else can my daughter exchange for goods?" Zheng Hongxia secretly thought, no matter what, her son is the most important, and the only seedling of the Lao Bai family must be saved. A woman will marry sooner or later, and she will be an outsider after all. If she could trade her daughter for her son's life, she would not hesitate. Bai Shinji said in disbelief, "Mom, me." Zheng Hongxia favors boys over girls and hasn't been kind to Bai Shinji since she was a child. She sticks to her brother Bai Yongxin first when it comes to anything delicious or fun. However, Bai Shinji still believes that her mother is good to her. Now these words were completely unacceptable to her. Bai Shinji shed tears silently and hugged the bag in her arms tightly. She didn't expect that when she took the risk of going downstairs with a strange man, she would be questioned by her relatives. Zheng Hongxia snatched the bag away with all her strength, foaming at the mouth and saying, "You have a wild man to raise you anyway, don't waste the food at home." Bai Shinji cried, "I don't." Zheng Hongxia pointed to the door and said sternly, "You go to the living room to sleep, don't hinder your brother's recovery here." Bai Yongxin looked at his sister proudly. "After driving my sister away, this food is enough to last for 4 to 5 days. Bai Shinji's heart was ashen. Bai Shinji came to the living room in despair, huddled on the sofa and cried silently. Her closest relatives were so heartless, which made her feel disheartened, and she didn't know where to go. She couldn't help but think of Zhang Fan. Zhang Fan has been looking for women in the group, if I seek refuge with him. Bai Shinji quickly shook her head, so ashamed that she felt like she had become a bad woman. It's quiet at night. The entire Fortune Center community went dark. Only the candles in Tang Shiru's home were brightly lit. Zhang Fan did not stay at home, but sat in a room on the 5th floor, using his senses to carefully observe the mutated frog. He has been sitting here for most of the day. This mutant frog catches food about once every 2 hours. The maximum attack distance of its tongue is about 80 meters. I just don't know if it is its maximum attack distance. If I take advantage of the opportunity when it goes out to hunt and place a large number of explosives in its lair, I should be able to kill it. But there are still 2 problems with this plan. First, where to get enough explosives. Second, the mutant frog does not have to leave the nest every time it hunts. Most of the time, it can catch prey with its tongue while sitting in the swimming pool, so I need to wait for the opportunity. Anyway, the tadpoles are getting bigger and bigger, which is a big problem. I have to solve it as soon as possible. Let's try to get some explosives first. There shouldn't be any in Mahai City. Unless we look outside, we just don't know where the nearest military camp is. Zhang Fan pondered. The moving speed of the ground is too slow. I can open 10 teleportation gates a day, with a maximum of 5 kilometers each time. I can only use 5 gates to travel, and the other 5 gates to return. So my maximum teleportation distance in a day is 25 kilometers. Are there military camps within 25 kilometers? Zhang Fan waited for a while and found that the mutant frog went hunting again. The time was very stable. It was still about 2 hours since the last hunting. After figuring out the pattern, Zhang Fan no longer waited here, but looked in By Shinji's direction with confusion. A whole day passed, and the woman kept huddled on the sofa, crying, neither eating nor drinking. It's late at night and she hasn't gone back to the master bedroom to sleep. Why? Got a conflict with your family? Zhang Fan raised the corners of his mouth slightly. This is my good opportunity. Disappear. Zhang Fan fell into the ground from the 5th floor and walked towards By Shinji's house. Master bedroom. Zhang Hongxia carefully licked the instant noodle residue in the bowl and carefully put away the remaining food. She counted over and over again. You have to eat the ham first, then the instant noodles. Don't touch the chocolate until absolutely necessary. Save it for emergencies. Cephalosporin seems to be very effective. Bai Yongxin regained some energy, could barely sit up, and said impatiently. Mom, it's just this little food, so stop nagging. Zhang Hongxia had a completely different look towards her son, smiling and saying. This is not food, it is our life. Bai Yongxin rolled his eyes. Mom, I have another way to get some more food. Zhang Hongxia said curiously. Son, tell me, Bai Yongxin said. Anyway, my sister is already with the wild man. We can marry her to him. Since that wild man can provide so many supplies, he must still have a lot in hand. We are marrying a girl, so asking for a bride price is not too much, right? We want 10 packs. No, we want it by percentage, we want 50%. My sister is so beautiful, that wild man will definitely want it. Zhang Hongxia's eyes glowed. She had long wanted to marry By Shinji and get some gifts, and then marry her son. As a result, the end of the world has come. Now her son's statement has opened up a new way of thinking for her. What happened to the end of the world? In the last days, you will have to marry a wife and have children, right? We need betrothal gifts before the end of the world, but we can't do without them after the end of the world, right? Zhang Hongxia hesitated for a moment and then asked. But who is that man? How much food is there? We don't know, will we lose money? My daughter is just an outsider, my son and I must survive. Bai Yongxin held the pearl of wisdom in his hands and said. 9 times out of 10, it's Chen Yang. Apart from him, who else in our building has so much food now? Chen Yang. Zhang Hongxia looked scared. Chen Yang is a small earthworks boss, a typical, capable person, and social person, in the traditional sense. Not long after the end of the world arrived, he organized a group of people to protect Tower A. Chen Yang basically has the final say on matters in Block A. After the power outage, Chen Yang organized everyone to move above the 22nd floor, which saved many people. Of course, everyone who disobeyed his will was severely beaten. In this day and age, trauma is basically equal to death. During the move, Chen Yang plundered a lot of supplies. Others were almost out of food, but he still had enough food. It is said that Chen Yang's men can eat 3 meals of instant noodles every day. Moreover, each subordinate can live in a separate bedroom without having to live with other families. Bai Yongxin licked his lips and said, Mom, don't be afraid. If my sister marries Chen Yang, you will be his mother-in-law and he won't do anything to you. That's right. After Zhang Hongxia heard this, she immediately felt confident. I am Chen Yang's mother-in-law. How could he beat me? Bai Yongxin continued. Mom, we are doing this for the sake of my sister. Now that she is following Chen Yang, she will be enjoying a lot of blessings. At least she can have enough to eat, which no one can ask for. Zhang Hongxia finally made up her mind. Okay, I'll go find Chen Yang. By Shinji curled up on the sofa. In the dark night, the silence around her made her very scared. There was a family of 3 living in the second bedroom. When the man came out to use the toilet, he saw By Shinji and his eyes suddenly lit up. In just 1 hour, he came out 3 times on purpose. By Shinji was extremely scared. After a while, Jung Hongxia came out with a flashlight. By Shinji was pleasantly surprised. She thought her mother had changed her mind and let her go back to her room to sleep, so she stood up. As a result, Jung Hongxia just looked at her indifferently and hurried out. By Shinji's smile froze and tears flowed down again. After a while, a man's voice suddenly came from behind her. "Are you hungry?" By Shinji was startled. She turned around and found that Zhang Fan had arrived at some point and was standing by the window looking at her. By Shinji said confusedly, How did you get in?" Zhang Fan smiled and said nothing, took out a pack of biscuits and stuffed it into her hand. "Do you want to eat or not?" He was surprised to find that the light on By Shinji's body began to turn green. By Shinji firmly refused. "No, I'm not the kind of woman you think." "Wow." Zhang Fan tore open the biscuit package, and the sweet smell filled his nostrils. Gulu. By Shinji swallowed hard. At this moment, the man next door walked out with his son who was in college and looked at By Shinji maliciously. By Shinji was afraid and couldn't help but hide behind Zhang Fan. At this time, the man saw Zhang Fan and was shocked. He didn't expect that there was an extra man in the room in the middle of the night. He couldn't help but get into a hurry. Zhang Fan gave him a cold look. The man and his son were glowing with a dazzling red light. The young son immediately took out a dagger and said aggressively, "Shabi, why are you staring at me?" He was not afraid of Zhang Fan at all because of his big body and round waist. Zhang Fan didn't know why these 2 people were so hostile to him. "But it doesn't matter, you don't need to know." He suddenly kicked out. The son flew backwards, smashed the glass and screamed as he fell downstairs. "If you fall from more than 20 floors, you will die." The man was stunned. He had no idea that his son would just curse and die. You're crazy." By Shinji covered her mouth in horror. Zhang Fan reached out and grabbed the man's collar and said calmly, "When it's time to use the dagger, you must be prepared to bear the consequences." The man struggled hard and roared, "Let me go. I'm going to kill you." Zhang Fan exerted a little force, and the man's body flew into the air uncontrollably. Zhang Fan threw him out of the window without saying a word, and the man screamed, No, ah." A few seconds later, there was the sound of heavy objects falling to the ground. The surroundings became quiet again. The man's wife heard the screams of her husband and son and ran out in panic, just in time to see Zhang Fan throwing her husband downstairs. "Ah, I'll fight with you." The woman screamed and rushed towards Zhang Fan with her teeth bared. Zhang Fan slapped the woman on the face, causing her face to turn 180 degrees and her cervical spine to twist. Zhang Fan casually threw the woman downstairs. When he looked at By Shinji again, she was already frightened. "Don't be afraid." Zhang Fan smiled and touched By Shinji's head. "A family should be neat and tidy, right?" By Shinji's teeth chattered, and she almost cried. You. Zhang Fan took out another bag of bread and said with a smile, "Come with me, I'll make sure you have enough to eat." Ah. By Shinji looked at Zhang Fan blankly. "I don't understand what the man in front of me is thinking at all. How could he calmly talk to himself after killing a few people?" Vaguely, By Shinji also felt that only people like Zhang Fan could live longer in the apocalypse. She has seen a lot of killings these days. But why did the world become like this? By Shinji is in a daze. By Yongxin heard the movement outside and moved out step by step. He immediately saw Zhang Fan touching By Shinji's head, and immediately became angry. "Who is this man? Could it be my sister's secret boyfriend?" By Yongxin was anxious. He was just about to give By Shinji to Chen Yang in exchange for food when he saw this scene. If Chen Yang finds out, the food will be gone. By Yongxin gritted his teeth and said, "You are indeed having a secret meeting with a wild man." By Shinji is anxious. "I didn't, Zhang Fan is." At this moment, the door was pushed open violently. A middle-aged man with a cold face walked in. Behind him were 2 burly men, Zheng Hongxia and a middle-aged man behind him, who said with a smile, "Brother Yang, this is my girl, look." Chen Yang stared at By Shinji as soon as he entered the door, completely ignoring Zhang Fan and By Yongxin. In fact, He has long been thinking about this beautiful woman. He has been busy moving and collecting food these days and has not had time to do anything. Now that I am finally free, I was thinking about when to get By Shinji, but I didn't expect By Shinji and her mother to come to my door. Chen Yang smiled ferociously and said, "Not bad. I'm very satisfied. Little girl, come here and let me have a look." By Shinji hid behind her brother, trembling and said, I'm not going, what are you doing?" By Yangshin pushed his sister out with all his strength. "Hurry, sister, you are lucky to follow brother Yang. Go quickly." He seemed to see his wonderful life. If By Shinji really marries Chen Yang, she will be Chen Yang's uncle. Then there is nothing you don't want. It's much better than following that brat next to you. Chen Yang wanted to rob someone. Zheng Hongxia quickly took Chen Yang's hand and said with a shy smile, "Brother Yang, we agreed that I will marry my daughter to you and you will give me instant noodles." Chen Yang said impatiently, "Lao Wu, give her a pack of instant noodles and tell her to get out. I will be the groom here today." Ha ha ha. Zheng Hongxia was stunned. "We just agreed on 10 packs. By Shinji felt like she was struck by lightning. Mom actually sold herself for 10 packs of instant noodles. Lao Wu said impatiently, "Girls, giving you 1 pack is already a bargain. Give you 10 packs. By Yangshin said anxiously, "Mom, didn't we agree on half of it? Why did it become 10 packs? By Shinji's expression was dull and she slowly looked at her brother. "You guys actually discussed it?" By Shinji said with despair. "Brother, I took the risk to find medicine for you, and this is what you did to me." By Yangshin shook off By Shinji's hand. "Get lost. You've already sold it anyway, so you're not selling it to anyone." By Shinji's heart sank. She looked at her mother and brother in front of her, and she had never felt that they were so strange. 10 packs of instant noodles. It's worth 10 packs of instant noodles by itself. By Shinji felt like a joke. In the eyes of my mother and brother, I am only worth 10 packs of instant noodles. By Yangshin moved to Chen Yang with difficulty and said righteously, "Brother Yang, my sister is so beautiful, 10 packs is too little." Snapped. Chen Yang knocked By Yangshin to the ground with a slap, and said with a ferocious smile, "What qualifications do you have to negotiate terms with me?" Chen Yang's men immediately stepped forward and punched and kicked By Yangshin. By Yangshin was still having a fever and had no strength to resist, so he could only scream. Zheng Hongxia anxiously threw herself on By Yangshin to protect her son, and shouted in a tearful voice, "No more, no more, we don't want instant noodles anymore. Don't hit my son. By Shinji gave it to you." The two men looked at Chen Yang. Chen Yang picked up a wooden stool and hit Zheng Hongxia hard on the head, roaring, "Stop if you tell me to stop, I'm so shameless. I'll beat them both to death." The two men immediately waved the stools and smashed them more than a dozen times. The two men became silent and blood flowed all over the floor. By Shinji looked at her mother and brother without any expression, and felt a faint joy of revenge in her heart. Chen Yang carried the wooden stool and looked at By Shinji, smiling ferociously with blood on his face. "Come here for me." By Shinji's hands shook slightly. Zhang Fan applauded. "Not bad, it's cruel enough, I like it." Only then did Chen Yang notice the ordinary man next to him. He said in disbelief, "Boy, are you talking to me?" Chen Yang's two men laughed wildly. "Ha ha ha, this kid is crazy. Hurry up and kneel down to Brother Yang. Brother Yang can consider sparing your life." Zhang Fan's expression became cold and he picked up a stool. "I'm in a good mood today and I'll give you a chance to commit suicide. Do it yourself." Chen Yang seemed to have heard the most ridiculous thing in the world, and he looked up to the sky and laughed wildly. Ha 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 ha. Ah! A wooden stool leg was instantly broken off by Zhang Fan and inserted into Chen Yang's mouth like lightning. Click! His teeth were all crushed. Chen Yang didn't have time to scream. Zhang Fan exerted his strength again. The wooden stool legs pressed down on Chen Yang's head and hit the ground hard. Boom! Then it penetrated the back of the head and pinned him to the ground. The smiles of Chen Yang's two men froze. Zhang Fan did not give them time to react. It flew away with one punch. Kicked away. The two men flew upside down and hit the wall, vomiting blood and died. In the blink of an eye, the room was filled with dead bodies, leaving only Zhang Fan and By Shinji alive. By Shinji's mind went blank. She glanced at Zhang Fan numbly, then rolled her eyes and fainted. Zhang Fan picked up By Shinji and swiped his finger in the air, and a blue portal appeared. Zhang Fan walked into the subspace and set the target point of the portal above the top floor of Building C. As long as precise positioning is not required, the door opening speed is quite fast. The door opened 7 or 8 meters away from the top of the building. Zhang Fan changed By Shinji into a princess hug, jumped from the air, and landed heavily on the ground. By Shinji was awakened. She looked around blankly. Where am I? Zhang Fan smiled slightly. Go to my house. By Shinji suddenly remembered what happened just now. In a short period of time, his mother and brother died, and he no longer had any close relatives in the world. Her whole body became depressed again. Zhang Fan looked on coldly, understanding her mood, but would not speak to comfort her. If she can regulate her mood, she will do so. If she can't, she will die. Now is the end of the world. Will a lot of people die one day? People with poor mental endurance simply cannot live long. Shortly after Zhang Fan left, a man from By Shinji's neighbor gently opened the door and stuck his head out. A woman's anxious voice came from the room. Old Chen, don't go there, it sounds scary. The man called Lao Chen said softly. Everyone seems to have left. Let me see if I can find some food. The woman was so scared that she almost cried. Old Chen, you screamed so miserably just now. I'm afraid, can't we just stay at home? Old Chen glared and said. You can't even eat, and you're still staying at home. Are you waiting to die? Even if we both can endure it, how can the child endure it? The woman fell silent and begged. Be careful, be careful. I know, I know. Lao Chen waved his hand impatiently. He watched carefully for a while. There was no sound from the By family, the door was wide open, there was no light at all, and the smell of blood wafted out. It shouldn't be a big problem. Old Chen gritted his teeth. Wait for me at home. He gingerly went out with a flashlight and a kitchen knife, tiptoed to the door of Bai's house, and looked inside. I saw that all the bedroom doors were wide open, several corpses were lying on the ground, and blood was flowing all over the floor. In a short time, several flies were hovering around the body. One of the corpses in particular had a wooden stick inserted into its mouth and nailed to the ground. The corpse had a ferocious face and wide eyes, obviously unwilling to die. Old Chen trembled, and when he looked carefully, it turned out to be Chen Yang. It's Chen Yang. Chen Yang was killed. He was pleasantly surprised. This fool took advantage of his large number of men and forced people to live in each house. Several elderly people were also placed in his house. An old man was sick and would not sleep at night and groaned, which made Lao Chen very angry. It's good now. Chen Yang is dead. Have a good death. Old Chen plucked up the courage and kicked the corpse hard, feeling relieved immediately. After he vented his anger, he stopped delaying and seized the time to search for food. After a while, he found the food brought back by Shinji, and his eyes suddenly lit up. Instant noodles, ham sausage, and chocolate. Old Chen was beaming. He didn't notice that a man quietly appeared in the dark shadow behind him. The man slowly raised the stick and hit Lao Chen hard on the back of the head. Boom! Lao Chen fell to the ground without saying a word, blood flowing all over the ground. The man chuckled sinisterly, snatched Lao Chen's bag into his arms, turned around and ran away without daring to stop. Just a few minutes after he left, several more waves of people came to Bai's house. When everyone saw Chen Yang's body, they were all overjoyed, and then they ransacked the Bai family's supplies unscrupulously. Soon, a fight broke out over the uneven distribution of the spoils. Building A 3301. 4 men covered in tattoos were drinking together. There were no snacks to go with the wine, just a few packs of instant noodles, crushed into pieces to make do. Mixed with instant noodles seasoning, it's quite tasty. The 4 of them ate for a while. One of the men with a mouthful of gold teeth said doubtfully. Brother Yang, why haven't you come back yet? Another bald man said nonchalantly. What else can you do? Kick that little girl named Bai. Lao Wu and Lao Lang can definitely drink the soup, and that old woman named Zheng Hongxia is also good, with thin skin and tender meat. Jay, you have such a strong taste. Every time something like this happens, Brother Yang brings Lao Wu and Lao Lang with him, Mada. When will it be my turn? The 4 of them were so jealous that they cursed each other. Having said that, no one dares to have too many complaints. They lived with Chen Yang in peacetime and have long been accustomed to obeying Chen Yang's orders. To be honest, Chen Yang was also very good to his brothers, and he never treated them badly as long as they had food and drink. In addition to being reluctant to share women, it makes them slightly uncomfortable. Now there are two beauties in Chen Yang's room, both of them are the most outstanding women in Block A. Normally I wouldn't even let them take a second look. However, they are just complaining. This is normal. Which man is willing to share women with other men? Just then, a scream came. The four of them were very alert and immediately drew out their weapons and looked around. It seems to be coming from downstairs. Mada, don't tell me that Brother Yang has been tricked, right? Impossible. How dare these quails in building A try to trick Brother Yang? It doesn't sound like Brother Yang's voice, nor does it belong to Lao Wu and Lao Lang. What nonsense are you talking about? You'll know if you go downstairs and take a look. Yes, just go down and stretch your muscles. Brother Yang is not allowed to do this or that. Now there are people looking for trouble in the middle of the night. It's okay for us to maintain order, right? Hee. It doesn't stop in the middle of the night. I want to make that evil pen look good. The four of them went downstairs with their weapons in hand, grinning ferociously. They searched all the way to the 29th floor when they smelled a strong smell of blood downstairs. Someone could also be heard cursing and screaming loudly. The four people's hearts sank and they hurried downstairs. When they reached the 25th floor, they were stunned by what they saw. A group of survivors are fighting desperately. The entire corridor was in chaos. With so many people fighting in groups, the four of them didn't dare to go in rashly. Jinya shouted in panic, "Where's Brother Yang? Brother Yang! Brother Yang!" A man with glasses who usually looked very honest smashed a person to death, then raised his head and laughed wildly with blood on his face. The person named Chen is dead. Ha ha. Boom. The man with glasses had his throat slashed by another man. When the bald man and the two of them heard that Chen Yang was dead, they immediately became anxious, forcibly split open the crowd, and rushed towards the By family. Jinya rolled his eyes. With all the chaos now, Chen Yang is probably really dead. All the supplies they collected before are at Chen Yang's house. When Chen Yang dies, who will own the things? By the way, there are those two women. When Jinya thought of the woman's figure, he suddenly felt angry and turned around and quickly went upstairs. It's all mine now. The three bald men finally rushed into Bai's house, and what they saw was Chen Yang's body. The corpse had been damaged beyond recognition, and the face could hardly be seen, but the clothes on his body and the watch on his hand proved his identity. Lao Wu and Lao Lang also died on the side. The whole Bai family is full of corpses. It's over, Brother Yang is really dead. Huh, where is that kid Jinya? Why didn't he come over? Is he blocked outside? I was the last one, and he didn't seem to follow me. The three bald men were not good at picking fights, and they immediately realized that Jinya had probably gone to rob Chen Yang's supplies. I don't think that guy is a good person. Hurry upstairs. Hurry back. The three of them cursed each other, but they had their own secrets in their hearts. When they arrived at Chen Yang's house, they found that Jinya had indeed locked the door, said nothing, and would not open the door to anyone. The three of them suddenly couldn't bear it anymore. Kill Jinya. That kid is the most insidious. I've long disliked him. Mad. The food in the house belongs to the brothers, but he dares to monopolize it. How to get in? Climb from the top of the building. You should be able to climb in from the top of the building on the 33rd floor. There are no iron bars on the windows of Brother Yang's house. When Chen Yang was around, he could barely maintain order. When Chen Yang died, the entire Tower A was completely out of control. As the four people started fighting, others also focused on the materials collected by Chen Yang, and the killing spread quickly. Throughout the night, the screams from Block A were endless. The survivors of the other two buildings in the Fortune Center community were trembling and hiding in the corner, not knowing what happened. Zhang Fan can monitor some floors in building A through perception. Scenes of killing unfolded. Zhang Fan just watched indifferently, eating one or two enlightenment fruits as snacks from time to time. He didn't pick any fruits, he just took them randomly and took whatever he got. After Bayan had eaten and drank enough, he lay on the ground with his legs in the air and fell asleep, occupying a large area of the ground. The women sat around Jong Fan in fear, not daring to rest at all. Brother Jong, what's going on? Jong Fan said calmly. I killed the boss in Building A, and the whole building went out of control. Now they are robbing food, women, and houses. Tisk tisk, it's really exciting. At this moment, Jong Fan heard a prompt. Ding. Subspace shuttle is upgraded to 9 stars full level, cannot be upgraded. The teleportation skill has actually been upgraded. Jong Fan raised the corners of his mouth slightly. Chapter 51. Jong Fan immediately opened the panel to check. Subspace shuttle. 9 stars full level, cannot be upgraded. You can open a subspace channel and go to any location within 51,000 meters, up to 12 times a day. You can create subspace anchors, with no range limit, up to a maximum of 12 times a day. 3 times, up to 3 anchor points can be maintained at the same time. You can set the landing point on the space anchor point regardless of distance. You can attach the subspace anchor point to any object. What a magical skill! The subspace anchor point no longer has a range limit, and can be teleported directly to the subspace anchor point regardless of distance. In other words, I gained the ability to return to the city from an unlimited distance. This is a magical skill for traveling long distances. In addition, the anchor point can be placed on any object. Is it possible to place it on a moving object? What about animals? Jong Fan shouted. Roll your eyes. His eyes jumped up and he tilted his head to look at Jong Fan. Jong Fan's heart moved, and a subspace anchor was placed on the dog's head. From the outside, there is nothing unusual. Those without warp abilities cannot see the warp anchor. Only Tien looked at Jong Fan in shock. Can you put an anchor on an animal? Jong Fan didn't explain, but took out a brand new box of dog cans from his pocket. Bai Yan suddenly woke up, his big eyes stared straight at the can, and his mouth watered. Jong Fan threw it casually, rushed over like a whirlwind with white eyes, and bit it in midair. Click, it easily chewed through the shell of the can and ate it happily. Jong Fan could feel that the subspace anchor was firmly fixed on the dog's head. Jong Fan opened another blue film and looked into the subspace. Sure enough, he clearly saw the subspace anchor point above Bai Yan's head. Sure enough, Jong Fan laughed with satisfaction. A bloody night passed. The sun rises. Fortune Center community has once again regained its apparent tranquility. I just don't know how many people lost their lives. Jong Fan didn't care at all. By Shinji rested for a night and barely recovered from the shock of the death of her loved one. Jong Fan had no time to care about the woman's mood. Instead, he went downstairs to continue observing the mutated frogs and practice shooting. As usual, Jong Fan came to a room on the 5th floor, which happened to overlook the swimming pool. The mutant frog is still sleeping in the swimming pool. Jong Fan was not in a hurry. He took out a high-end sofa and put it in the room, took out a basin, took out a bunch of enlightenment fruits and ate them. After waiting for more than half an hour, the mutated frog jumped out of the swimming pool and left, presumably to hunt for prey. Jong Fan's perception penetrated the layers of red mist and saw everything clearly. He stood up immediately, walked to the windowsill, and opened a window. Jong Fan took out a police rifle from his pocket and pointed it in the direction of the swimming pool. The red mist blocked the sight and could not be seen at all. However, perception can completely replace vision. Through his perception, he focused his attention on a fast-swimming tadpole. The feeling that time was slowing down returned again. Jong Fan was puzzled. Is it an additional effect of physical strengthening? He didn't think much about it. After aiming, press the trigger lightly. Boom, missed. Jong Fan was not in a hurry and continued shooting. Anyway, there is another purpose this time, which is to practice shooting. Boom, boom. After a few shots, Jong Fan found the feeling of using a gun. It was an indescribable special feeling. Jong Fan somehow felt that the next shot would hit. He held his breath and pressed the trigger steadily. Boom. The tadpole was smashed into pieces. Ha ha ha, I am a sharpshooter. Jong Fan boasted casually and continued to observe the swimming pool. The companion is dead. The other tadpoles were still swimming as if nothing had happened, showing no sign of fear. Same as that mutated frog, IQ is a bit low. Jong Fan paid attention to the sensing range to prevent the mutant frog from suddenly returning. While again targeting a new tadpole. Boom, boom. Soon, dozens of tadpoles in the swimming pool died. Ever since he hit the first shot, Zhang Fan has never missed a shot. Zhang Fan was really surprised now. Am I really a sharpshooter? This was the first time in Zhang Fan's life that he had fired a gun, and it really surprised him to achieve such good results. Zhang Fan was so excited that he stroked the rifle and was about to try it again. At this time, the mutated frog jumped back into his range of perception. Zhang Fan immediately closed the window gently and lowered his body. The mutant frog returned to the swimming pool and saw that all the tadpoles were dead, and he became furious. Guaguagua. The mutated frog's voice is extremely harsh. Zhang Fan wanted to cover his ears even when he was so far away. This thing must be cursing people, and the scolding is ugly. After a few minutes, the mutant frog calmed down and returned to the swimming pool to sleep again. It seems that he has completely forgotten the revenge of killing his son. Zhang Fan finally confirmed, the mutant frog's IQ is indeed low, and its memory is pitifully short. Pinghai Road Police Station. Zhang Zilin was fully armed and walked to the survivors' room with a solemn expression, followed by Lu Gangfeng and Yang Jiawei, who were also fully armed. The survivors all looked at the three of them. Some people had already prepared their bags, their faces uncertain. Others were still sitting on the ground. Zhang Zilin said loudly. Last night, the police radio channel was briefly restored for a while. I received an order from my superiors, who ordered me to lead the survivors to the TV station rescue point. Those who are willing to follow me should leave now. There are about 5,000 survivors at the TV station rescue point. We have enough manpower and material resources to protect everyone's lives. If you don't want to leave, I won't force you. You can stay at the police station. With authorization from superiors, survivors can use all the supplies in the police station without taking any legal responsibility. Quote. Lu Gangfeng rolled his eyes helplessly. Yang Jiawei looked around in panic, seemingly still hesitating whether to leave. He is too aware of the horrors outside. It would be great to stay at the police station and insist on executing some bullshit order. But if Zhang Zilin left, he wouldn't have the confidence to survive in the police station. Without Zhang Zilin's force, these survivors are just cattle and sheep waiting to be slaughtered. An old man suddenly said angrily, Officer Zhang, what will we do if you leave? Zhang Zilin was silent for a moment. I'm sorry, I received an order and must execute it. You can survive on your own. Another person said excitedly, surviving on our own. What a nice thing to say. How can we survive on our own? You are a superhuman and you have abilities, how can we survive on our own? That's right, you are deliberately giving up the lives of people. We have paid so much tax, and this is how you protect us. Officer Zhang, don't leave, please, don't leave. If I die, it will be your fault. I will never let you go even if I am a ghost. As he talked, everyone became excited. No one is stupid. Among the three superpowers, only Zhang Zilin is the most reliable. Many survivors were rescued by Zhang Zilin. If she left, it would be difficult for everyone to survive. Zhang Zilin looked at the distorted faces of everyone with a livid face. Her fists were clenched until they turned white, and for the first time she began to doubt whether she was right to save these people. After a long time, she slowly exhaled and said firmly, I'm sorry, I have nothing to do. It is my bounden duty to execute orders. Goodbye, everyone. After she finished speaking, she turned around and left. The disappointed people were extremely desperate. You are killing people. You are killing people. Please, can you stay one more day? If you leave, who will find food for my child? Swearing, crying, begging. No matter what means, Zhang Zilin cannot be stopped. Soon, Zhang Zilin came downstairs. She looked behind her and finally breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, Yang Jiawei and Lu Gangfeng both followed. In addition, there were more than 30 survivors standing vaguely in the red mist. These people were willing to follow Zhang Zilin to the rescue point of the TV station. Everyone is imagining life at a TV station rescue site. At a gathering place with more than 5,000 people, at least there is water and food, right? It's better than starving to death here. Zhang Zilin said simply and neatly. It's a total of 15 kilometers. I'll walk 5 kilometers today and expect to arrive in 3 days. I will open the way. After Lu Gang Peak breaks off, Yang Jiawei will be in the middle. Stay alert and alert you immediately if there is any situation. In the red mist, the visible distance is only 5 meters. Everyone follows one by one. Be sure to keep up. Let's go. Jong Zin pulled out a fire axe, took one last look at the police station, and then took the lead without hesitation and walked into the dark forest. In the corridor, Zhang Fan stood in front of a group of survivors. After suffering in the corridor for several days, their physical condition became worse and worse. In the first few days, many people were willing to go downstairs to cut the grass. Zhang Fan did not break his promise and gave food and water to the winners. However, when many people find it difficult to achieve the goal of 100 pounds a day, most people are unwilling to go. Today, only one tall man reaches the 100-pound requirement. Zhang Fan took out a pack of instant noodles, a piece of ham and a bottle of purified water, and said calmly, "Lao Mang, you are the only one who has met the requirements today. Here, this is your reward today." Lao Mang, a tall and muscular man, happily took the food. Thank you, brother Zhang." He held the pure water tightly in his arms, reluctant to drink it even if his mouth was dry. Now, what is more scarce than food is clean water. After the tap water and natural gas were cut off, it was impossible to boil water, and many people were without water. Some people drank their own urine, while many others squeezed water from newly emerged purple mushrooms. I don't know who discovered it, but this purple mushroom is actually rich in water. But it is not clean. Drinking the juice of some mushrooms will cause hallucinations and even death, while others will not. No one can tell which mushrooms are safe. Frequently going downstairs to squeeze mushrooms caused many people to get injured. Some were scratched by sharp blades. Some were bitten by mosquitoes. Some are even more outrageous. If a piece of bird droppings falls on the skin, it will become red, swollen and inflamed. The number of injuries of all kinds is staggering. Li Qingchuan was very busy as he shuttled among the crowd with a small medicine box. He used some plants and herbs downstairs and the high-strength liquor provided by Zhang Fan to barely maintain people's lives. Zhang Fan watched quietly. The purpose of providing liquor was to test medicine on these people and prepare for possible injuries. Whenever Li Qingchuan tested effective treatment methods, such as pine needles, he would have people go downstairs to collect them and exchange them with food for himself. Using this method, Zhang Fan has accumulated hundreds of kilograms of new herbal medicines. There are currently 3 main types. One is mutated pine needles, which can treat trauma. One is a cocklebur that mutates into black, which can reduce fever. The last new grass to appear is also the most magical. This kind of grass will bloom, and the flowers are all red, about the size of a baby's fist. It looks a little like the old rose, but the rhizome has no thorns. Li Qingchuan named it rose grass. The flowers seem useless, but the grass stems have a magical medicinal effect. Regardless of fever, cold, diarrhea, trauma, inflammation, or poisoning, the stems of rose grass can cure the disease for some people, but are completely ineffective for others. As for the reason, Li Qingchuan couldn't explain it clearly. He didn't care too much either. Many prescriptions in Chinese medicine vary from person to person. He was used to it. Compared with the despair of other survivors, Li Qingchuan was very excited. The evolution of all things has brought an endless stream of new herbs, making him seem to have found a new meaning in life. Zhang Fan provided him with sufficient living conditions, and there were so many patients for him to test. He was very satisfied with his current life and became more loyal to Zhang Fan. Li Qingchuan examined all the patients before saying to Zhang Fan, "There are not many rose grasses. They only collected 30 roses today. I gave them 3 bottles of pure water." Zhang Fan took the rose grass with satisfaction. "Good job, I'll give you some purified water." Zhang Fan put 30 rose grass into his backpack, which actually put it into his carry-on space. He knew that someone would definitely try to hide the rose grass. But it doesn't matter, the storage time of herbs after picking is very short. It will spoil in half a day at most. After suffering a loss once, they will not do such thankless things again. Except Zhang Fan, no one can preserve fresh herbs for a long time. After Zhang Fan left with Li Qingchuan, the atmosphere among the survivors softened somewhat. Lao Meng walked to the corner of the stairs and happily shared his harvest with his wife and children. In this era, it is extremely lucky for a family of 3 to be alive. They happily shared the perishable ham and left the instant noodles, which would be Lao Meng's breakfast tomorrow morning. Most of them will be given to Lao Meng. Only in this way can Lao Meng have the strength to go downstairs to cut the grass and earn more food. Pure water is even more precious, and is carefully placed by my wife in the safest place, under the child's pillow. The child was placed in the innermost position against the wall by the couple. Night falls. The survivors all fell asleep, and only the injured were still moaning in pain. No one knew if they would make it through the night. No one cares either. In the darkness, the three men were too hungry to sleep and looked jealously at the position of Lao Meng's family. They were hungry, their mouths were dry, and their eyes were green. How can someone named Meng have anything to eat? Mada, that kid Zhong Fan forced us to go downstairs to cut the grass just because he had food. He didn't care about our lives at all. Isn't Zhong Fan just a shitty convenience store clerk? I used to make more in a day than he did in a month. Now I'm shaking. He has so much food at home, but he won't give it to us. We can't survive this day. Let's rob Zhong Fan. Shish, keep your voice down. That's easy for you to say. Can you beat him? He can break Zhou Tianao's neck with one hand. He must have superpowers. We all go up to deliver food. HMPH. No matter how powerful you are, you still have to sleep. Let's sneak attack while sleeping. Zhong Fan will be dead. Yes, the one named Zhong has snatched so many beauties, so he must be having fun every night and sleeping hard at night. Zhong Fan won't let us go above the 28th floor. Who knows where his home is? How to get in? Hey, I know where that kid lives. He said it once before when he was delivering goods. It's in 3202. Everyone's eyes lit up. Then how to get in? Climb from the roof to the 33rd floor, and then climb to the 32nd floor. I have a climbing rope at home. Then we have to climb to the top of the building. Zhong Fan won't let us go above the 28th floor. If he finds out, we will be in trouble. TCH. In the middle of the night, someone named Zhong doesn't sleep with a sweet-smelling woman in his arms, and puts him on the surveillance stairs. He must be sick. It's too dangerous to crawl outside on such a dark day. Danger is nothing. If this continues, we will starve to death. No matter what, we will die, so why not give it a try? At least we can be a well-fed ghost. That girl Tang Shiru is so handsome. Don't you want it? The man's eyes were red and he took a deep breath. Quote. Done. We're going to kill Zhong Fan anyway, so why don't we snatch the one named Meng first? I just looked carefully and he still has a bottle of purified water and a pack of instant noodles. Good. The three of them discussed for a while, then slowly walked to Lao Meng's family in the dark. In his sleep, Lao Meng felt something inexplicably, his heart beat wildly, and his eyes suddenly opened. There were three black figures standing in front of him. The black shadow actually holds a sharp boning knife in his hand. Just as Lao Meng was about to scream, a big hand pressed his mouth down. Poof, poof. A few seconds later, Lao Meng's family of three fell into a pool of blood. The families closest to Lao Meng saw this scene and did not dare to make a sound. They were so frightened that they pretended to be asleep and did not dare to raise their heads, and their bodies were trembling. The three of them snatched Lao Meng's instant noodles and water, ran into the stairs and disappeared. Zhong Fan sat on the sofa, stroking the black cat, and looked towards the stairs. In his perception, the figures of the three people turned red and black. After killing them, they quickly grabbed instant noodles and water, and then climbed upstairs without missing a moment. Although they thought their steps were very light, they didn't know that everything was exposed to Zhong Fan's vision. Zhong Fan chuckled and put the black cat on the sofa. You were really looking for death. The black cat meowed unhappily and left with its tail raised. Zhong Fan didn't take any action, just stared at the three of them, took out a few enlightenment fruits and started eating them. Just in time. Let these three idiots help you test the security. See where the enemy will choose to break through. You can also do targeted defense yourself. When the three of them clambered to the 30th floor, their eyesight went dark and they all had symptoms of mild hypoglycemia. The food they had eaten in the past few days was really poor, making their bodies very weak, and they couldn't bear the slightest movement. I'm exhausted. It's too dangerous for us with our physical strength to climb the building, so let's forget about it. One of the tall and thin men sneered. Forget it. Lao Meng has been killed by us. Do you think Zhang Fan will cause trouble for us tomorrow? We must have been seen by some people just now. The other two people's hearts sank. The tall and thin man said sinisterly. Brothers, we have no way to turn back now, we can only go all the way to the dark side. If we kill Zhang Fan, we will have food, drink and women. If we can't kill him, we will all die. The two of them looked ugly, and there was no chance of them taking any chances. The three gritted their teeth and climbed to the 33rd floor. They looked up at the stairs. The tall and thin man leaned on his knees and puffed up. Brothers, work harder and go up to the next floor, which is the top of the building. Let's rest on the top of the building for half an hour before taking action. Superior, go up there and there will be a woman. Finally, the three of them climbed up to the top of the building panting. Plop, all three of them collapsed on the ground from exhaustion. The tall and thin man took a breath and looked up to the sky. Today is a cloudy day, there is no moon, and it is almost impossible to see. The tall and thin man was overjoyed, it was a good time to kill someone and set him on fire. The three of them laughed knowingly. After resting for 10 minutes, the three of them stood up. They circled around the wall and found the balcony directly above room 3302. The tall and thin man tied professional knots on the rope, one at a certain distance, which are the stress points for climbing. Another person said in surprise. Brother, what did you do before? You look very professional. The tall and thin man said proudly. I install high voltage electricity. I climb high and low every day. I am very familiar with ropes. Brothers, follow me and I will get you to the 32nd floor safely. The two immediately laughed. With professionals, the chances of success are much greater. The tall and thin man finished tying the knot, tied the climbing rope to the guardrail, and then gently lowered it inch by inch. He climbed up the parapet with his body and stretched his head to look down. It was dark below and nothing could be seen. After the power outage in the Demon Sea, there was almost no light. The night wind blew and the rope swayed slightly. Even a tall and thin man felt terrified. Not to mention the other two who have no experience working at heights. They even felt cold in their hearts. This is so scary. Otherwise, let's forget it. Mada, trash. The tall and thin man cursed in his heart, but comforted him. Brothers, don't worry, I will make a simple safety rope, there is absolutely no danger. Suddenly, a voice sounded in the darkness. No, just crawl like this. Who? The three of them were startled and looked into the darkness. Zhang Fan turned on the flashlight in camping mode and walked over leisurely. Zhang Fan. When the three of them saw the coming person, they froze on the spot as if a bucket of ice water had been poured on their heads. One of them even had his crotch wet, and the smell was overflowing. Zhang Fan put the flashlight by the wall, stretched his head and looked down, and said with a smile. Tisk, tisk, you guys are really creative, climbing the stairs in the middle of the night. The tall and thin man said tremblingly. Zhang, brother Zhang, this is a misunderstanding. Please listen to my explanation. Zhang Fan sighed. We are all adults. When you say this, are you looking down on my IQ? The tall and thin man knelt on the ground with a thud, slapped himself hard, and cried. Brother Zhang, it's me who's obsessed. Please spare me this time. He walked toward Zhang Fan on his knees, but his hand quietly touched the boning knife on his back in the darkness. Boom! There was a bullet hole in the tall, thin man's forehead, and the back of his head was blown off. Red and white splattered out, spraying the faces of the two people behind him. The tall, thin man fell limply. Only then did Zhang Fan put down his pistol easily. The remaining two people were stunned. Zhang Fan actually has a gun. They instantly lost the courage to resist. If they knew Zhang Fan had a gun, they would rather starve to death than come. When they knew Zhang Fan was a person with supernatural powers, they were not so afraid. Even if the threat of guns is actually far greater than Zhang Fan himself. But modern people's fear of guns has been engraved in their bones. Zhang Fan held a pistol and walked up to the two of them. Go, climb down, help me test a project. I want to see if I can really climb down. The two waved their hands wildly. No, we don't dare anymore. We really don't dare anymore. Brother Zhang, spare me. Boom. One of them was shot and died. Zhang Fan looked at the last person and said word by word. I said, climb down. The man's mind went blank, and he hurriedly got up and climbed up the wall. As soon as he looked down, he felt dizzy and his hands and feet were trembling. He cried and begged, "Brother Jong, I really can't climb, I really can't climb." Boom! A shot hit the man's feet, sending stone chips flying everywhere. The man was startled. Jong Fan pointed his gun at him expressionlessly. The man was desperate and could only grit his teeth and climb down the rope. Jong Fan lay calmly beside the wall, watching the man climb down little by little. I don't know whether it was due to luck or desperate efforts, but the man actually climbed to the middle between the 32nd and 33rd floors. Then the rope shook violently. He hugged the rope and cried loudly, never daring to move again. Jong Fan curled his lips. "You can really climb down." He took out a dagger and started cutting the rope. Bah, bah, bah. The man looked at Jong Fan's actions in horror. "No, no, don't cut, don't cut." Stab. The rope broke. The man screamed and fell. A few seconds later there was the sound of heavy objects falling to the ground. Jong Fan snorted coldly. After a while, he returned to the room, pulled By Yan's ear and said, "From now on, you go to sleep on the roof and just watch from there. Don't let anyone else go up." A 7-day hotel outside Mahai Film and Television Academy. 4th floor. Jong Zin sat in a corner tiredly. Survivors lay scattered all around. They had been trekking hard for a day and were too tired to move. There were 35 survivors when we set off, but now there are only 22 left. The other 13 people either lost their physical strength while walking and could not keep up with the team, so they disappeared in the red mist, or be killed by animals and plants along the way. What's even more troublesome is that Lu Gangfang, the superpower, has bloodstains on his clothes and is unconscious. He was attacked by a giant mantis, one of his arms was chopped off on the spot, and his chest was seriously injured. If Jong Zin hadn't sacrificed his life to save him, he would have died on the spot. Even so, looking at Lu Gangfang's current state, there is a high probability that he will not survive tonight. Another superpower, Yang Jiawei, was very lucky. He didn't suffer any injuries and fell asleep on the ground. Jong Zin looked solemn. If we continue like this, it will be almost impossible to reach the rescue point of the TV station. She looked at Lu Gangfang, who was breathing hard and felt very guilty. If it hadn't been for his own decision, he would probably still be alive. And those 13 survivors all died because of me. It would be great if there were weapons, so many people wouldn't die. At this moment, a slight sound came from the distance. Boom. Jong Zin immediately sat up, her eyes shining. Is this gunshot? Are there other police officers nearby? Ordinary people in the Dragon Kingdom don't have guns. Those who can hold guns are police officers, soldiers, or people who steal guns. Jong Zin stared into the darkness outside with piercing eyes, as if she wanted to see through the identity of the shooter. Yang Jiawei also woke up and said with sleepy eyes, "Leader, I think I heard gunshots." Just then, there was another gunshot. Yang Jiawei stood up with excitement. "What a gunshot?" Jong Zin asked calmly. "Can you hear the specific location?" Yang Jiawei identified it carefully, then pointed in a direction and said, "Over there, about 500 to 550 meters. The shooting position is very high, so the sound can travel that far." Jong Zin took out her mobile phone and turned it on painfully. Now the battery is getting less and less, and she needs to use it less every time. She opened the offline map and looked at it. In that direction, 500 meters away, the Fortune Center community. Jong Zin frowned and looked in the direction of the Wealth Center. If the other person is a fellow police officer, they can be partners and look after each other. If the other party is the gun thief. Snort. Jong Zin's beautiful eyes are sharp. That depends on his attitude. If you are willing to plead guilty and surrender the gun, you can also consider recruiting the other person to become a member of the team. A superpower who can burrow into the ground is still of great use. If you are a diehard who refuses to plead guilty or surrender your gun, then I have enough guns and ammunition. Jong Zin calmly turned off her phone and ordered, "Let's rest here first and go to the Fortune Center as our first stop tomorrow." Early morning. Gunshots echoed in the Fortune Center community. Boom, boom, boom. Suddenly, Jong Fan stopped and put the rifle into the space. The mutant frog is back. When the mutated frog returned to the swimming pool, he was so angry that his body swelled. Gwa, gwa, gwa. In just 10 minutes, almost all the remaining tadpoles were dead. No matter how stupid it is, it probably understands that the thunder just now is related to the death of the tadpole. Unfortunately, it can't find the enemy. I can only rage impotently in the swimming pool and vent my anger with croaks. Zhang Fan raised his lips slightly. Morning exercise is over, let's go home for dinner. Return home. Several women have prepared a sumptuous breakfast. Brother Zhang, try the toast I just made. Brother Zhang, I made egg custard. You said it was your favorite food. Brother Zhang. Brother Zhang. Zhang Fan enjoyed a perfect breakfast. Okay, let's go play. Don't forget to go to the balcony to charge my spare mobile phone while I go out. With the 9-star teleportation, his movement range has been greatly increased. Zhang Fan plans to collect supplies again to prepare for the cruel future. Weapons, medicines, medical equipment, diesel generators, various mechanical tools. He lacks everything. Anyway, the space you carry with you is unlimited, so you can pack it all in. When the girls heard this, they immediately became worried. They can live so comfortably because of Zhang Fan. If something happens to Zhang Fan, their fate will be the same as that of other survivors. No, not even as good as an average survivor. Because they are all beauties. Beautiful weaklings are original sin in the last days. Tang Shiru whispered, Brother Zhang, you must be careful. The other women also looked at Zhang Fan worriedly. Yeah, Zhang Fan casually drew out a huge blue film and walked in. Seeing Zhang Fan leave, the women unconsciously divided into 3 groups, whispering in low voices. Tang Shiru took out a portable solar charging panel and Zhang Fan's spare mobile phone and went up to the rooftop. Bayan heard the footsteps and lazily raised his head. When he saw it was Tang Shiru, he collapsed again. Tang Shiru looked at Bayan's strong body and felt much more stable. Without Byakugan watching over her, she wouldn't dare go out alone. The sun is nice today. Tang Shiru plugged the solar panel into her mobile phone and charged it. Zhang Fan made some identification in the subspace and quickly found the location of the number. 3 People's Hospital of Mahai. In an instant, a blue portal appeared underground in the inpatient department of Mahai 3rd People's Hospital. Void. Zhang Fan walked out of the portal. Within the 100-meter range of perception, there was not a single person in Mahai 3rd People's Hospital. Zhang Fan frowned and secretly became vigilant. He stood underground and checked carefully with his senses, but still didn't see anything abnormal. The parking lot was filled with cars and was now covered in vines. In the lobby of the inpatient department, a pile of beds and medical equipment stood 2 or 3 meters high, as if they were blocking something from entering. Now there is no one to guard it, and it is all covered with vines. Countless broken bones were scattered among the vines. I don't know if it's human or animal. The vines even reached the 2nd floor. It's much more normal above the 3rd floor. There are obvious traces of the survivors' lives. Blackened walls, messy bedding, cigarette butts and food packaging bags everywhere. There was blood everywhere, and all kinds of debris were thrown on the floor. It was obvious that some kind of disaster had occurred and all the survivors had run away. Strangeness. Zhang Fan wondered why everyone left. What exactly did they see? Zhang Fan suddenly reacted. Wrong. Something is wrong. On the 12th floor of the inpatient department, not only were there no living people, there was not even a single living thing. Zhang Fan suddenly felt horrified. Everywhere else is now dominated by insects, ants, cockroaches, cats and dogs. There is nothing here. In Zhang Fan's perception, the entire inpatient department was deathly quiet. Only plants. Not a single animal. Wrong. There's definitely something weird here. Zhang Fan opened the portal and left without saying a word. He had no inclination to explore. In times like this, curiosity is the greatest danger. The 3rd People's Hospital is still extremely quiet, with only the rustling of leaves in the wind. Zhang Fan breathed a sigh of relief after entering the subspace. He found the nearest small private hospital and teleported there. This hospital is much more normal. A dozen survivors were hiding on the top floor of the hospital, seemingly eating an animal. Zhang Fan took a closer look and almost vomited out his breakfast. Grass. It turned out to be a half-meter-long maggot. Zhang Fan was so disgusted that he didn't bother to pay attention to this group of people and went directly to the pharmacy. He rose to the ground and immediately kicked a mouse that was bigger than a cat to death. The pharmacy was in disarray and had obviously been looted by survivors. The glass of the refrigerator in the pharmacy was broken, and all the medicines that needed to be refrigerated were invalid. However, the drugs that survivors can take away are very limited. Zhang Fan took away all the well-packaged medicines, regardless of what they were. Anyway, Li Qingchuan knows the effects of various drugs. Zhang Fan went to the warehouse and took away boxes and boxes of medical equipment, such as disposable syringes and surgical blades. The next target is Shengxi Furniture Plaza and the hardware market next to it. Zhang Zilin looked out the window with a solemn expression. How many shots were fired at the Fortune Center just now? Yang Jiawei said. At least 50 shots. Zhang Zilin frowned. It looks like he is the thief. It is impossible for the police to carry so many bullets with them. Even if there is, I would not be willing to waste it like this. The sound of gunshots was very regular, like target practice without pressure, and it seemed that he was practicing shooting. If it was a police investigation, it would definitely be impossible to practice shooting during this period. Then it can only be the thief. The survivors are up. Only Lu Gangfang was still lying on the ground. He didn't make it through and died. As the night passed, the corpse became so putrid that no one wanted to get close to it. Zhang Zilin wrapped Lu Gangfang's body in hotel sheets and went downstairs. They found a piece of land nearby outside the hotel and buried him. Finally, a wooden stick was inserted on the grave, with the following words engraved on it. Lu Gangfang, a second-level police officer from Pinghai Road Police Station. Police number XXXXXX. Zhang Zilin looked at the wooden stick in silence, and after a while she solemnly said, Lu Gangfang, if I am still alive today next year, I will definitely come back to see you. Zhang Zilin stood up, stood at attention and saluted slowly, then turned around and left neatly. Zhang Zilin returned to the hall and everyone packed their bags. Everyone learned to tie their trousers and wrists tightly with ropes to prevent bugs from getting in. Those who cannot learn are already dead. Zhang Zilin cherished the pistol and touched it. There were only 4 bullets left and she was reluctant to use it. If the gun thief is caught, there will be enough bullets. Everyone won't lose so much. Zhang Zilin picked up the fire axe and said in a deep voice. Let's go. I'll lead the way. She left first. The exhausted survivors followed like zombies. Zhang Fan walked out of the furniture square with satisfaction and went underground to the hardware market. He turned on his senses and everything around him was normal. It is normal that there are no survivors here. It's impossible to survive without food nearby. Roller. Zhang Fan was surprised. He didn't expect to encounter such a good thing here. Other cars can't be driven, but a road roller can. It doesn't matter what kind of grass you have, the iron wheel will come over and it will be crushed and flattened by you. Zhang Fan happily walked under the steamroller and put the steamroller into his carry-on space. Then he got to the ground and walked towards the hardware market. From angle grinders, electric drills, motors, water pumps, to pliers, wrenches, hammers, light bulbs, as well as various types of pipes, aluminum alloys, stainless steel, paints, and tarps. Zhang Fan didn't care about anything, and put them all into his personal space. With these things in hand, you don't have to worry about basic tools for a short time. After that, he went to a nearby public tertiary hospital, Mahai No. 2 Maternal and Child Health Hospital. The medicines and equipment in the previous small private hospital were still a bit scarce. Zhang Fan stood on the rooftop of the outpatient clinic building and observed with his senses. The survivors gathered on the top 3 floors of the outpatient building and lived in different departments and offices according to their relationship. There are no people with supernatural powers. Zhang Fan confirmed that it was basically safe before walking downstairs from the rooftop, intending to observe the survivors here at close range to judge the situation outside. Some survivors saw Zhang Fan, showed wary expressions towards strangers, and held onto the food in their arms. More survivors didn't care at all. They just lay on the ground hungry and thirsty, with weak eyes, basically waiting to die. No one stopped Zhang Fan from the beginning to the end. There were only a few corpses in some offices and no one was there to deal with them. Flies were flying around, maggots were squirming, and the stench was overwhelming. But the survivors in the next room didn't care at all and seemed to be used to it. Zhang Fan covered his mouth and nose and passed quickly. This hospital probably doesn't have a leader, so no one organizes defense against foreign enemies. There are very few women, 80% of the survivors are men, and there are even fewer beautiful women. This shows that order has collapsed. Zhang Fan went to the pharmacy, which was also ransacked, but there were still a lot of medicines left. The variety is also much richer than that of private hospitals. After Zhang Fan searched for the needed supplies, he went to the nearby police station, fire brigade and a middle school. The police station and fire brigade were empty. There are many survivors in the middle school, and there are also 2 people with supernatural powers. However, almost all the female students here are dead, and most of the remaining ones are male students. Zhang Fan traveled to 7 or 8 places but could not find any sign of an official organization. Are the officials unable to control the situation? Zhang Fan frowned. It stands to reason that they shouldn't. With the level of science and technology in modern society, even if a disaster suddenly strikes them unprepared and makes it difficult for them to control the overall situation, there is still great hope of saving some key parts. Why is there no reaction at all? Where have the powerful people gone? Zhang Fan couldn't figure it out, so he could only cut open the blue film and return to the rooftop of Building C of the Fortune Center. Bai Yan looked up and saw that it was Zhang Fan, so he came over wagging his tail. Zhang Fan fed it some meat, then stroked the dog's head while silently looking at Mahai City. Overhead is the fiery sun. Underfoot is the endless red mist. Tall buildings poked out from the red mist, like sparse woods in a sea of clouds. The pine trees that were severely injured by herbicides regained their youth, and each one grew taller than the last. When Tang Shiru saw Zhang Fan coming back, she happily snuggled up to him. At this moment, a loud noise came from the red mist. Boom! Gunshot! Zhang Fan's expression suddenly became serious and he looked in the direction of the gunshot. Tang Shiru was shocked. Who in the Fortune Center still has a gun? Zhang Fan patted her hand. You go home with a blank look, and I'll go take a look. Zhang Fan's body quickly sank to the floor and rushed towards the direction of the gunfire. Zhang Zilin led everyone not far away. Yang Jiawei trotted over and warned. Stop, there is movement ahead. It seems to be someone. Poof. Zhang Zilin killed a mouse with an axe, frowned and said. Survivors, you wait here, I'll go take a look. Nowadays, it may not be safe to meet human beings. Zhang Zilin must confirm before making a decision. She jumped slightly and actually jumped more than 3 meters high, standing firmly on a branch. She jumped forward among the branches and quickly disappeared into the red mist. Everyone looked at her with envy. If I had this kind of ability, who would still be carrying this pile of oil bottles? I would have found a good place to enjoy life. Zhang Zilin advanced for a few minutes and then stopped. She heard voices coming from ahead. Hu Liangliang, go back quickly, I'm exhausted. No, we haven't found food yet, and we will starve to death if we go back. But, we must. Ooh, my feet are blistered, it hurts so much. Ah, it's bleeding. Go quickly. You must take care of it when you get back. Don't let it get inflamed. At this time, several people chatting passed by the tree. Zhang Zilin saw 7 young people, about 18 or 9 years old, who should be college students, 5 men and 2 women. Zhang Zilin felt that they were not in danger and were normal survivors, so she jumped down from the tree. The 7 people were shocked. Ah, who is it? Huh, she's wearing a police uniform. She's a police officer. Seeing that the person coming was a woman, everyone relaxed a little. One of the boys came forward excitedly and said, Hello, are you a police officer? Zhang Zilin saluted and said, Hello, I am Zhang Zilin, a 2nd-level police officer from Pinghai Road Police Station. It's really a police investigation. The boy was so excited. My name is Hu Liangliang, we are students from Mahai Film and Television Academy, please save us. When Zhang Zilin heard this, she immediately breathed a sigh of relief. I'm going to the nearest official rescue point, which is far away. If you are willing, you can go with me. If not, I can only do nothing to help. 7 students said excitedly. Comrade Police Inspector, we are going with you. Woo, great, we finally met the police. I haven't eaten for a whole day and I thought I was going to starve to death today. It's great. Jong Zin felt trusted and her mood immediately improved. Follow me. After 7 students joined, the team of survivors grew again. Jong Zin also felt inspired and rushed to the fortune center. This road was only a few hundred meters long and extremely difficult to walk. Jong Zin trekked for more than an hour before she finally found a path in the dense forest. This means she has gained superpowers. An ordinary person would have been too tired to move. Everyone was panting from exhaustion and finally arrived at the main entrance of the Fortune Center community. Jong Zin looked at the wealth center in front of her, and when she was about to enter, a huge rabbit jumped out of the grass. The exhausted survivors instantly became excited. Officer Jong, rabbit, rabbit, kill it quickly and we can eat meat tonight. Shoot, shoot. Jong Zin also became happy, with a smile on her lips. She had killed a mutated rabbit before, and the rabbit meat made everyone's mouths water. However, the mutant rabbit's mobility is abnormal, and Jong Zin cannot catch it without a gun. Jong Zin held her breath, took out her pistol, and slowly pointed it at the rabbit. Boom, bingo. Jong Zin was pleasantly surprised. The bullet hit the rabbit's eye and penetrated, destroying the rabbit's nerves. It twitched and fell to the ground, and soon became motionless. Everyone was in high spirits. When Jong Zin picked up the rabbit, a huge tongue suddenly shot out from the red mist and headed straight for her. Jong Zin reacted in the flash of lightning. She seemed to have been violently pulled, and her body slid backwards rapidly in violation of physics, almost leaving an afterimage, and the soles of her shoes left 2 black marks on the ground. Puff! The tongue is empty. However, she hit a boy next to her by mistake and immediately stuck to it and dragged her back. Ha! Jong Zin snorted coldly, her body sliding rapidly and stopping like a ghost. She took a standard machine step, exhaled loudly, and let out a breath of arrows. Hey! Jong Zin's hair exploded instantly, like a frightened cat. The soles of the feet exerted force suddenly, and the body rushed towards the tongue like a cannonball, and punched out flatly. Boom! The thick tongue was actually hit and flew out sideways. The tongue could no longer catch the boy, and the boy was thrown backwards, hit the wall and died instantly. The mutated frog fell from the sky like a boulder and landed heavily on the ground. Boom! Its body is about the same size as a bus. In the red mist with a field of vision of less than 5 meters, the survivors could only see its head clearly, and the rest of the body was completely hidden in the red mist. This is even more scary. Guagua! It barked loudly twice, sounding like thunder. The survivors were scared to death. What the hell is this? This is a frog. Can frogs grow so big? The survivors swarmed towards the Fortune Center community. Jong Zin also felt her scalp numb. But she can't leave immediately, she must cut off the survivors, otherwise no one can escape. The mutated frog lay down close to 3 meters high, its green body glowing faintly. The eyes with high bulges on the top of the head were blood-red horizontal pupils, staring coldly at Jong Zin. That thundering sound came from here. It was this 2-legged beast that killed all my tadpoles. The tongue strikes out again. HMPH. You beast. Jong Zin's warrior heart burst out and she faced him head-on without fear. Jong Fan stood quietly by a window on the 5th floor of Building C, observing the sudden battle with his senses. Now, the policewoman's light is almost as bright as his. Every time she punches or kicks, the light on her body dims a lot. Correspondingly, the light on his fists and feet instantly became as bright as the dazzling sun. In the visual field of perception, as the policewoman moves, her body, fists and feet flicker in and out, dragging a bright light curtain, full of indescribable violent beauty. She actually relied on this explosive power to fight on par with the much more powerful mutant frog. Jong Fan is very coveted for this kind of explosive power. If he has this kind of power, coupled with his overall physical fitness, he may be able to kick the mutated frog like a ball. At the same time, he also had many doubts in his mind. Isn't she the female policewoman in the police station with superpowers? How come she's here? Jong Fan didn't understand why she had to travel such a long distance. If the police station couldn't survive, with her strength, it would be easy to find a gathering place for supplies such as a supermarket, which would be much safer than running around outside. Unless, Jong Fan's eyes narrowed, she has a clear destination. The policewoman is obviously an official. Does she know the whereabouts of the official forces? Zhang Fan saw the lively fight between one person and one frog, and he couldn't tell the difference for a short time, so he immediately discovered the opportunity. Now is a good time to grab that fruit of enlightenment. Without saying a word, Zhang Fan quickly sank into the ground and rushed towards the enlightenment fruit by the swimming pool. Plans don't change quickly. His original plan was to get some explosives to kill the mutant frog, and then get the enlightenment fruit. However, he was worried about destroying the fruit of enlightenment, so he never made up his mind. Unexpectedly, someone actually helped me to make the tiger leave the mountain. What else is there to say? In less than half a minute, Zhang Fan rushed to the bench next to the swimming pool. The fruits of enlightenment grow quietly under the benches on the ground. Zhang Fan was so happy that he didn't have time to pick it, so he uprooted it and threw it into the portable space, and then left underground. A few minutes later, he returned home. The women gathered around nervously. Tang Shiru had just told them that they heard gunshots, and now everyone was looking at Zhang Fan anxiously. However, seeing Zhang Fan's smiling face, the girls breathed a sigh of relief. Brother Zhang, who is shooting? Brother Zhang, nothing happened. It's okay. Zhang Fan smiled, took out the enlightenment fruit and looked at the girls. To whom should I give this fruit? In front of the superpower fruit, the girls immediately forgot about the gunfire and looked at Zhang Fan flatteringly. They all know the function of superpower fruits. Only By Shinji is new here and has not eaten the enlightenment fruit yet. She asked curiously, isn't this the black lychee I told you about? So you still have it? Zhang Fan smiled softly. This is called a superpower fruit. You can get superpowers by eating it. They have all eaten it. By Shinji was shocked. So this is how the superpowers come about. She regretted a little. If she had eaten the superpower fruit, maybe her brother and mother would not have died. But then I thought about it, it wouldn't be a bad thing if a relative who sold his daughter for instant noodles died. By Shinji's eye circles turned a little red when she thought of this. Zhang Fan secretly wondered who to give it to. So far, Tang Shiru has eaten the most superpower fruits and has the most superpowers, 3 in total. 1 star for perception, 2 stars for virtualization, and 1 star for physical enhancement. Then there is Xu Mengqian, with 1 star in perception and 2 stars in virtualization. Then there are Hu Lili and Lu Mengyao, both with 1 star perception. There is also Tien, who teleports 7 stars. Only By Shinji has no special powers. Don't be in a hurry, as time goes by, my female fists are all powerful, and you can kill them instantly if you just throw any one of them. Zhang Fan smiled. Xu Mengqian, this reward is for you. You have performed well during this period. Xu Mengqian was pleasantly surprised. She had no hope at all. After she was punished for being stupid last time, Zhang Fan had not given her a good look for a long time. I was still scared and felt like I was going to be abandoned. Now I suddenly heard that Zhang Fan gave me the power fruit, and I was so excited that I shed tears. Brother Zhang, thank you, woo woo woo. Zhang Fan handed her the superpower fruit. Eat. Zhang Fan was willing to give it to Xu Mengqian because the light on her body was the greenest, greener than Tang Shiru. I don't know how this woman brainwashed herself, and the effect was outstanding. Tang Shiru already has 3 powers, and Zhang Fan will not give her new powers for the time being. There is only one other female talent. Too many rewards may make Tang Shiru misunderstand her meaning and make her proud. In addition, the light on Hu Lili, Tien, and Lu Mengyao is not green enough. Zhang Fan didn't know what the power of this new enlightenment fruit was. If it was too powerful, it might give them unnecessary ideas. Therefore, after comprehensive consideration, Xu Mengqian is the most suitable. Xu Mengqian ate the superpower fruit under the envious eyes of the girls. Zhang Fan immediately heard the prompt. Ding! Xu Mengqian consumes 1 enlightenment fruit will link and returns 700 fruits. It has been put into the portable space. Fruit of enlightenment will link 1 star. After eating it, you can gain the ability to link your will. Eating the same fruit repeatedly has a chance of improving the star rating. Will link. What kind of power is this? Zhang Fan himself took out 1 and ate it. By Shinji looked even more confused. Why is there still more? Are superpower fruits so worthless? Will link. 1 star, you can establish a will link with the creatures within the field of vision and communicate in consciousness. The distance is 10 meters, the upper limit of the will link that exists at the same time. 1. Will plus 1. Ding. Unlock more attributes. The attribute panel has been updated. Zhang Fan was secretly surprised. What is this? A portable privacy phone. Can only living things communicate? Can animals? What about plants? Also, what is the use of this will attribute? Zhang Fan opened the properties panel. Sure enough, there is an extra line in the panel. Host. Zhang Fan. Comprehensive physical fitness. 90 average 10 for ordinary adults. Will. 11 average 10 for ordinary adults. Willpower only increased by 1, and Zhang Fan couldn't feel any difference from before. Xu Mengqian, who had just eaten the will link fruit, was confused. Brother Zhang, what is the function of this power? Effectiveness. Zhang Fan's heart moved and he opened the will link. He saw a layer of translucent colorful bubbles surrounding his body and the bodies of the girls. Even Black Cat Coke has it. The colorful bubbles are in a regular spherical shape, shaking slightly like soap bubbles. Everyone's colorful bubbles are basically the same size. Only the colorful bubbles around Zhang Fan seem thicker. Is this the external manifestation of the biological will? Zhang Fan instinctively knew how to use his abilities. As long as you gently touch the other party's colorful film in your consciousness, you can establish a consciousness link. Zhang Fan gently tapped the colorful film outside Xu Mengqian's body. Xu Mengqian seemed to notice something and looked around. Zhang Fan did not speak, but subconsciously called Xu Mengqian. Can you hear me? Xu Mengqian was stunned for a moment and asked stupidly. Brother Zhang, did you call me? The other women were puzzled. When did he call you? Zhang Fan said in his mind. You don't need to speak. Try to communicate with me through your consciousness. Come on, give me a squeeze on your shoulders. Xu Mengqian got used to it and said in her mind. Okay, Brother Zhang. She walked up behind Zhang Fan obediently and squeezed his shoulders. Sure enough, the passive party can also use consciousness to communicate. Zhang Fan chuckled. Under Zhang Fan's guidance, Xu Mengqian quickly learned how to proactively establish links. She tested the will link on Tang Shiru and By Shinji respectively. Both girls were envious, especially By Shinji. It turns out that superpowers are so magical. Zhang Fan also tested whether he could use perception combined with will link to talk through the wall. The result is still possible. Zhang Fan was secretly happy. Perception, although it has no combat ability, it is really useful. Virtualization and will link both rely on the vision provided by perception to play a more powerful role. Of course, physique strengthening also plays a great role. Will link consumes so much physical energy that Xu Mengqian can only hold on for a few minutes. If she starts perception and will link at the same time, the physical energy consumed is not simply added, but doubled. Within 30 seconds at most, Xu Mengqian would be too tired to continue. But Zhang Fan was different. His super high comprehensive physique allowed him to persist for an extremely long time. Immediately afterwards, Zhang Fan looked at the black cat Coke lying on the ground. The colorful bubbles around the Coke's body are smaller and thinner. Zhang Fan tapped lightly with his consciousness. Cola looked up at Zhang Fan. Meow, what are you doing? Zhang Fan was shocked. I can actually understand cat language. Wrong. It's not that I understand the cat's language, it's that I'm communicating with it consciously, not with words. So I can understand. Zhang Fan was pleasantly surprised and tried to use his consciousness to ask. Are you hungry? Cola slowly raised his head and stared at Zhang Fan for a long time with wide eyes. Meow meow meow. Hey, that's good, the two-legged beast can talk. Zhang Fan had a black streak on his head. What kind of arrogant meow is this? Cola stood up and walked to Zhang Fan's feet and licked his trousers as a reward. Zhang Fan was speechless and tried to establish a will connection with several plants. The plant's will bubble is very dim and almost invisible. Succulents. Water, 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 ivy, sunshine, growth, up, up, pine tree. There are bugs. There are bugs. It hurts. The plant's IQ is very low. It cannot respond to Zhang Fan's inquiries or speak complete sentences. It can only instinctively repeat some simple words. Zhang Fan stopped the test, took out a handful of will link fruit and ate it. Eat and think about it. What can this ability be used for? There was a surprise. He only took the third pill when he heard a prompt. Ding. Will link increased to 2 stars. Distance increased to 20 meters, will +2. Jong Fan glanced at it and didn't pay much attention. This upgrade may be due to good luck. After eating one handful, he ate a second handful. Before finishing the second handful, I heard another prompt. Ding. Will link increased to 3 stars. Distance increased to 50 meters, will +4. Huh. Jong Fan finally paid attention. Why is it so easy to upgrade? After only eating about 10 pills, it rose to 3 stars. When I ate perception fruits before, I ate hundreds of them before I could reach 3 stars. Could it be that my physique is more suitable for the will link fruit? Without saying anything, Jong Fan took out another handful and ate it. Ding. Will link increased to 3 stars. Best. Will link increased to 4 stars. By Shinji on the side was dumbfounded. Why does Jong Fan have so many superpower fruits? If he had so many, why did he ask me where to buy the super fruit? This thing is worthless to him. Is it purely to help me and just find an excuse to make it easier for me to accept it? By Shinji bit her red lips gently and looked at Jong Fan with tender eyes. Jong Fan didn't notice that the green color on By Shinji's body became thicker and thicker. He was looking at the prompt with surprise. Ding. Will link increased to 6 stars. Will link. 6 stars. You can establish a will link with the creatures within the field of vision and communicate in consciousness. The distance is 50 kilometers. The upper limit of the will link that exists at the same time, 10, will +15. 50 kilometers. Jong Fan's eyes glowed. Maybe I will have a second 9-star power soon. It's a pity that I just got 6 stars in one meal and I was really full. Even smelling the enlightenment fruit made me feel a little nauseous, so I had to stop temporarily. Jong Fan burped and checked the properties panel. Willpower has reached 25, but I still don't feel anything. What exactly is the role of will? In just a few minutes, Jong Zin was sweating profusely and her breath was confused. When she saw that all the survivors around her were running away, she stopped delaying and punched the mutated frog on the tongue, turned around and ran away. Jong Zin ran away. The mutated frog is in hot pursuit. The hatred of killing a son is irreconcilable, especially with so many children. Of course the mutated frogs can't stand it. Jong Zin complained secretly and could only rush into the nearest building in a panic. Boom! The mutated frog followed closely, and its huge body smashed the glass door of the hall. Gwa! Gwa! The eyes of cold-blooded animals stared at Jong Zin mercilessly. Jong Zin was sweating profusely. Although she was very brave just now, she was almost exhausted now and it was difficult to hold on. But the mutated frog didn't look tired at all. She had to avoid its sharp edge, otherwise she would be dead. But there was red mist everywhere, and the light indoors was so dark that it was almost impossible to see the direction. At this moment, deep in the red mist, the light of a flashlight came faintly. A familiar voice shouted, "This way, Officer Jong, this way." It's Ding Zhengli. Jong Zilin's eyes lit up. Ding Zhengli was one of the first survivors she rescued, and he was also a rare warm-hearted person. Ding Zhengli took the initiative to do many things that other survivors were unwilling to do. Jong Zin ran towards Ding Zhengli quickly. Ding Zhengli's figure was soon seen. Ding Zhengli poked his head out from behind the wall of the stairwell and shouted anxiously. "This way. Go quickly. Go quickly." Jong Zin rushed into the stairwell with 3 steps at a time and 2 steps at a time, and finally breathed a sigh of relief. Ding Zhengli smiled honestly. "It's okay, the corridor is narrow, that big toad can't get in." Boom! Before he finished speaking, the mutated frog's tongue shattered the fire door in the stairwell. Sawdust and iron sheets flew everywhere. Poof! The door handle of the fire door shattered and flew out, piercing Ding Zhengli's lower abdomen. Blood instantly covered his clothes. Ding Zhengli opened his mouth wide. "Why, how could I be so unlucky?" He fell limply to the ground. Old Ding. Jong Zin was anxious. Regardless of her tired body, she gritted her teeth, picked up Ding Zhengli and climbed upstairs, shouting anxiously. Someone help me carry it. Ding Zhengli is injured." The mutated frog couldn't get in and was croaking in anger. Jong Zilin reached the corner between the first and second floors, and Yang Jiawei hurried downstairs to help. But he was too old and didn't have much strength at all. Jong Zilin said angrily, "What about the rest?" Yang Jiawei said awkwardly, "This." Jong Zilin frowned and could only carry Ding Zhengli on his back and huff and puff as he climbed up to the second floor. In the dark corridor, the survivors sat sprawled on the ground. There were 20 or 30 people, but no one came downstairs to help. Jong Zilin's eyes were on fire. She carefully placed Ding Zhengli on the ground, stood up and stared at everyone coldly. Jong Zilin took a deep breath, stabilized her emotions, and then said, "Why don't you go down and help? Forget about the injured ones, what about you? Don't you want to be well?" Everyone's eyes were wandering, avoiding Jong Zilin's gaze. A man in his 50s whispered, "We are not supernatural beings, so how can we deal with that frog?" The first person spoke, and the others also spoke one after another. "That's right, Officer Jong, it's not that we don't want to go down, we really don't dare. We are not you. If we were touched by that frog, we would be seriously injured." Jong Zilin said angrily, "That frog is so big that it can't even enter the corridor. What are you afraid of?" Everyone was silent for a moment. Hu Liangliang, who had just joined the team, curled his lips and said, "Then how did he get injured?" Jong Zilin was left speechless. Immediately afterwards, a woman in her 40s said angrily, "Officer Jong, why do we usually pay so much tax? Aren't we just asking you people to protect us? You are a police officer. You were born to protect us. Yes, we believed in you and followed you out. Do you think there are many people left now?" Yes, our Lao Wang is also injured. Why don't you say look at Lao Wang and just patronize that guy named Ding? Officer Zhang, stop talking and find us something to eat quickly. We lost all our food when we ran away just now. Everyone said something to me. Even if Jong Zilin's face turned dark, no one was afraid. They were sure that Jong Zilin would not touch them. Jong Zilin clenched her fists until her fingers turned white. She felt a little aggrieved. "I didn't force you to come here, you came voluntarily." There was also a hint of anger. "Why should I keep saving you?" She really wanted to let go and let this group of people fend for themselves, but her heart didn't allow her to do such a thing. At this time, Ding Zhengli groaned several times in pain. Jong Zilin came back to her senses and said hurriedly, Doctor Du, show him quickly." A shriveled woman came out silently, checked the wound and sighed. "Officer Zhang, Mr. Ding is very lucky and his internal organs were not injured. If you have medicine and equipment and can be sutured and bandaged, you may be able to be saved." But the scene fell silent. The survivors did not even have enough food and water. "Where did you get the medicine?" "At most it's a little medicine for diarrhea and fever, but there's no medicine for trauma. Moreover, even if the wound is sutured, can Ding Zhengli survive the infection?" Jong Zilin pursed her lips and said nothing. Ding Zhengli sighed and said softly, "I'm done, Officer Zhang, don't save me, just go away. If you see my son and grandson at the TV station's rescue center, don't talk about me. Alas, this is your life. Stop talking." Jong Zilin's nails left deep marks on her palms. She gritted her teeth and said warmly, "Old Ding, you will be fine. I will find some medicine for you. There must be some medicine." Jong Zilin thought of the supernatural being who could burrow into the ground. It is very safe to go out with the ability to burrow into the ground. As long as the other party is not stupid, he will definitely collect the medicine. The speed of drilling into the ground must be very slow, and it is inconvenient to carry items. He probably doesn't have too many drugs in his hand. When he goes out to collect, he probably mainly eats food and water. However, trauma is a common injury during this period, and the opponent should have some reserves. As long as we find him, Old Ding's injuries can still be saved. As for finding the other party, will you be unwilling to administer the drug? Jong Zilin never thought about this possibility. If you don't want to give medicine, then beat him until he gives it. Jong Zilin would not be merciful when dealing with a criminal who stole a gun. While Jong Zilin was thinking, noisy footsteps came from the stairs. 7 or 8 people came down from the 3rd floor. A man wearing a property security hat crookedly waved a stick and cursed. "Mada, what's going on? Who allowed you to come in?" Don't you know this is our boss Ma's territory? Others also followed suit and cursed. Why are you so blind? Didn't you see Boss Ma coming? I'm asking you something. Talk. Which of you is the leader? Send someone to speak out. The survivors looked at Jong Zin in unison. As soon as the leader of the thin, dark man saw Jong Zin, his eyes flashed lustfully, and he stretched out his hand to hook Jong Zin's chin. Hey, there is also a policewoman. You, snapped. Jong Zin slapped the man's hand away in disgust and said coldly, I'm warning you, please speak politely. The thin black man was not angry either, and laughed wildly. Ha ha ha, these girls are quite stubborn. It's better to be a little stubborn. The more stubborn you are, the more flavorful you are, ah. Jong Zin couldn't bear it anymore and lightly kicked the thin black man in the abdomen. The thin black man was unprepared and screamed and fell to the ground. It took him a long time to recover, and he said angrily, Maid, catch this fool, kill everyone else. Others took out their daggers and looked at Jong Zin with evil smiles. Jong Zin's eyes turned cold and she said with disgust, I'm warning you one last time, don't act rashly, otherwise you will be responsible for the consequences. Several people laughed. Yo, you're still fierce. You are responsible for the consequences. Hee hee, I will let you call me daddy later. Ha ha ha. As he spoke, several people waved daggers and watermelon knives, laughing wildly. They didn't notice that the other survivors didn't show any fear at all. They all looked at them with strange expressions and looked at them with pity. You dare to mess with this police officer, you are really making your own trouble. Jong Zin couldn't bear it anymore and her figure started to move. Snapped, snapped, snapped. Half a minute later, several people were lying on the ground, all beaten unconscious. Jong Zin knocked over several people, and without even taking a breath, she coldly snorted. Yang Jiawei, bring someone to tie them up. I'll go up there and take a look. Good. Jong Zin didn't know if there was a person with earth-burrowing powers among these people. It didn't look like it, so she climbed upstairs. There is no one below the 21st floor. On the 22nd floor, there was still no one in the areas not covered by the red mist. She reached the top 2 floors and finally saw groups of unkempt survivors. Everyone's hands and feet were tied and chained in a row in the room, unable to move. Most of the men are injured and dressed in rags. There are very few women, and they are all concentrated in 2 rooms. They were stripped naked and bruised all over. Jong Zin's expression completely changed. She still didn't know what was happening. Boss Ma and his group captured everyone else and made them slaves. There are few women because they have all been tortured to death, so there are naturally few women. During this period, Jong Zin met many criminal gangs, many of which were more brutal than this. However, these gangs can only arrest a dozen people at most. Now there are hundreds of people in front of us. This is the first time Jong Zin has met so many people. Her teeth gritted loudly. Scum. The tied-up survivors suddenly became excited when they saw Jong Zin wearing a police uniform. Is the country coming to save us? Comrade police officer, help me. Help me. Comrade police inspector, go and catch Ma Shanxi. Don't let him escape. After Jong Zin rescued everyone, many people were so excited that they shed tears. The surviving relatives hugged each other and cried bitterly. The rescued woman hugged her family members' heads and cried. Some people are so weak that they can barely stand up. Some people have to have their limbs amputated due to necrosis of their limbs due to long-term binding. But under the current circumstances, there is no condition for amputation. He can only wait for death. The scene was chaotic. Jong Zin found a few who were in good health and called up the survivors downstairs. The survivors brought by Jong Zin were trapped in low buildings during this period. They came to the high-rise for the first time and stood above the red mist. They looked at the unobstructed sky obsessively, feeling open-minded, and the ordinary scenes in the past were now intoxicating. When the survivors in the building saw Ma Shanxi and the others, they could no longer control their emotions and started beating and kicking them. Mad. My parents were beaten to death by these fools. You didn't expect that this day would happen to you too. My surname is Ma. If you dare to have love with my wife, I will castrate you. My surname is Jin. We usually have a good relationship. Why are you treating me like this? You robbed all the food in my house and my son starved to death. I will kill you. One of your special property security managers actually arrested the owner. What's the law? After a while, Ma Shanxi and others fell into a pool of blood. Jong Zin watched all this silently without stopping, allowing the survivors to vent their emotions. Yang Jiawei trembled and said softly, "Leader, is this going too far? How could Jong Zin not know that this was a lynching and illegal? But what can be done? Can you control this angry crowd? Cannot. Do you have the conditions to try and imprison Ma Shanxi and others, and give them the legal sanctions they deserve?" No, Jong Zin sighed. In troubled times, use heavy codes, and those who kill will pay for their lives. Yang Jiawei apologized and smiled. The survivors who followed Jong Zin were all secretly grateful. If it were not for following a powerful and righteous person like Jong Zin, the fate of myself and others would not be much better than the group of people in front of me. After the survivors vented their anger, things quickly became quiet. After all, they are still hungry and thirsty and don't have much physical strength at all. They were very excited and exhausted their energy just now, but now they are all lying on the ground in a state of sluggishness. Everyone is looking at Jong Zin, counting on her to lead everyone to survive. Jong Zin had a headache. Jong Zin didn't have to worry about food and drink. Ma Shanxi and his gang must have hidden a lot of food, enough to last for a few days. She just had a headache with too many trivial matters. Distribute food, accommodate survivors, and try to treat mildly ill patients. At this time, a middle-aged couple walked over with laughter. The man nodded and introduced himself. "Police officer, my name is Sun Jianmin, and I am the director of the subdistrict office where this community is located. This is my lover, Li Ailing." The staff of the subdistrict office. Jong Zin breathed a sigh of relief and said immediately, "Yang Jiawei, you and Director Sun are responsible for organizing manpower to take out the materials looted by the evil forces and distribute them equally to everyone." Yang Jiawei nodded. "Okay, leader." Sun Jianmin was overjoyed. This is a good and lucrative job. Li Ailing's eyes also shone, and she even licked her lips unconsciously. The other survivors who were rescued were somewhat dissatisfied. Why should he be allowed to distribute supplies? However, they had just been rescued and did not know Jong Zilin's character, so no one dared to openly challenge Jong Zilin's authority. Sun Jianmin took the initiative to bow his waist and shake hands with Yang Jiawei. "Hello, Director Yang, you give the command and I will execute it." Yang Jiawei waved his hands awkwardly and said, "Don't call me director, I'm just an ordinary person." When Sun Jianmin heard this, he felt disdainful in his heart, but said, It's okay. The identity of the past is nothing. It's a new era and a new approach." Jong Zin glanced at Ding Zhengli. His condition was getting worse and worse. Dr. Du gave him a simple bandage to stop the bleeding, but the wound was too dirty and would most likely become infected. The medicine must be found immediately. Jong Zin didn't waste any more time and asked, "Director Sun, I have a question." Sun Jianmin quickly said, "Leader, tell me. Don't call me leader. My name is Jong Zin." Jong Zin waved her hand and said bluntly, "Someone shot someone in this community before. Do you know who it was?" This. Sun Jianmin was embarrassed. "We have been locked up and really don't know." Jong Zin frowned and asked again, "Then do you know who has a lot of food in the community?" Sun Jianmin nodded hurriedly. "I know this. There is a very shameful convenience store clerk in our community. He has a lot of food and even trades food for women. Alas, people's hearts are not ancient." When Sun Jianmin said this, he thought of the photos of girls that Zhang Fan had posted in the group before, and felt extremely jealous. Li Ailing said with added fervor, "Yes, that guy deceived a few unscrupulous women to follow him. A bunch of fools eat meat and rice every day and throw them away when they can't finish them. They will be punished by God." Other survivors also followed suit. Yes, food, accommodation and food are included. It's great. It's Zhang Fan who provides food and accommodation, isn't it? That brat used to be a convenience store clerk in our community, earning 3,000 yuan a month, but now it makes him tremble. Bah! We don't even have steamed buns. When there's no power outage, I've seen him post hot pot videos. Hot pot is nothing. He still has steak to eat. Zhang Fan has so much food, he would rather throw it away than help everyone. How outrageous. This is a time of disaster. Food belongs to all survivors. Why did he finish it all? Extravage is a crime. Everyone scolded Jong Fan. Jong Zin ignored everyone's jealousy and analyzed useful information from everyone's chatter. Steak, hot pot, trading food for women. Throw it away if you can't finish it. This guy has no shortage of food at first glance. In this day and age, who is not short of food? Who else could be there besides the superhuman who can drill into the ground? He can burrow into the ground and go out in search of food. When others didn't dare to act, he must have moved a bunch of food from the nearby supermarket, so he dared to waste it like this. Li Ailing's cell phone still had power, so she turned it on and showed Jong Zin the historical news in the group. Jong Zin felt even more confident when she saw the message from food and lodging included, as well as photos of sumptuous food and beautiful women. It's him. Jong Fan is the one with the ability to burrow into the earth. Jong Zin naturally despised Jong Fan for exchanging food for women. But she noticed that the women in the photos were all rosy and radiant, and they were obviously not abused. The hostility in Jong Zin's heart was greatly reduced. Based on this alone, this person named Jong Fan can be considered a good person now. Jong Fan should not be bad in nature, but his sudden ability made him lose himself. I have to save him. I will definitely be able to influence him to join my team, and he can help me rescue more survivors and go to the TV station rescue point. Jong Zin stood up. Dr. Du, I'm going to ask Jong Fan for some medicine and equipment. You can give me a list. Ah, Dr. Du was stunned. Did he? Sun Janmin held back his bad words. Even if Jong Fan has it, he may not be willing to give it to us. He is not a good person. Jong Zin heard Sun Janmin's malicious criticism and was unhappy, but she didn't show it. Don't worry, Dr. Du, just prescribe the medicine. If I say give it, he must give it. Dr. Du felt relieved when he heard that Jong Zin was preparing to use force. The old men who have been following the team know how powerful this police officer is. Even the ridiculously big frog just now, Jong Zin was able to beat back and forth. What a convenience store clerk. Dr. Du said happily. I will prescribe a few more medicines for you. If one is not available, you can replace it with others. This will give the injured like Lao Ding a greater chance of survival. Okay. Jong Zin nodded. Sun Janmin smiled flatteringly. Officer Jong, why don't you eat first and then go? Jong Zin waved her hand confidently. No, I'll be back as soon as I go. It'll only take a few minutes. I'll get the medicine back before eating. Yang Jiawei said worriedly. That big frog may still be waiting for you down there, why don't you go later? Jong Zin said casually. It's okay, I have a way. After saying that, she walked upstairs. What are you doing upstairs? Everyone was curious, and a few good people followed them. Jong Fan stood by the window of a room on the 20th floor and found the location of the mutant frog. In the visual field of perception, it was lying outside the lobby on the first floor of Building B, refusing to leave even a step, as if it was still squatting with the policewoman. Jong Fan almost burst out laughing. This policewoman really did a good job of taking the blame for herself. Spiritual link. Jong Fan saw the colorful will bubble of the mutated frog. Unlike the mutant frog's powerful appearance, its will bubble is even weaker than black cat coke, and no better than a plant. It seems that strength of will has nothing to do with physical strength or superpower strength. Jong Fan touched it lightly and the spiritual link was established. The mutated frog seems to be saying to itself, revenge, revenge, revenge. Jong Fan asked, who do you want to seek revenge from? The mutated frog was so stupid that he didn't even notice that someone else was asking it, and instinctively answered. That female biped. Revenge. Eat. Can't be found. Jong Fan suggested. The female biped is up there and will definitely come down. Just wait here. The mutated frog repeated. The female biped will come down. Wait. Revenge. Wait. Revenge. Done. Jong Fan smiled and broke the will link. As for the policewoman, you are just holding it in upstairs. What is this for? Jong Fan was shocked to see Jong Zin walk to the edge of the rooftop, and suddenly her whole body was filled with light. After a few seconds, the light on her body quickly converged and poured into her legs. Her toned and slender legs radiated as brightly as the sun. The terrifying power suddenly burst out. The cement on the guardrail is cracked. Boom. The policewoman jumped over the tens of meters between Tower B and Tower C like a cannonball. Zhang Fan was stunned. This is still a human being. The policewoman's body drew a perfect parabola. She jumped from the roof of the 33rd floor of Tower B, and accurately landed in a window on the 20th floor of Tower C. And this room happened to be the room where Zhang Fan was. Wow! Zhang Zilin broke countless glass fragments and rushed in. She landed on the ground and rolled to lose her strength. She let out a long breath. Such a huge explosive force was also a great drain on her body. When she got up and took a look, she was startled. There was someone standing in front of her. It's none other than Zhang Fan, whom I met in the group just now, with food and accommodation included. How did he know he would jump here? Zhang Zilin couldn't understand. Zhang Fan was also shocked at first. Could it be that this policewoman also has the ability to perceive people with special abilities remotely, otherwise why did she find her directly? This is the 20th floor, and she can't see it under the red mist. However, Zhang Fan realized after seeing Zhang Zilin's shocked expression that this time it was purely an accident. Zhang Zilin originally jumped to this room, but she just happened to be here. In the sensory field of vision, Zhang Zilin's body exuded a red and yellow light. Zhang Zilin. Age: 27. Quality: 9 points. Heroic. Female ethics: 10 points. Without personnel. Comprehensive score: 9 points. Ding. Meets system requirements. Zhang Fan's heart was ringing with alarm bells, and he had no time to think about it. This policewoman can fight with mutant frogs, which is very dangerous. Is the red light on her body directed at me? Or does she just have this kind of personality and be hostile to everyone? When Zhang Fan was wondering whether to pretend to be stupid, Zhang Zilin spoke. You are Zhang Fan, I'm just here to find you. She just came for me. Zhang Fan suddenly lost all hope. His eyes turned cold. He really thought I was a bully, and he even hit me hard. Zhang Fan said nothing and punched out with all his strength. In Zhang Zilin's eyes, Zhang Fan's fist exploded like thunder and quickly grew in size. How could his body be so strong? Zhang Zilin was shocked and did not dare to bear it, so she took half a step back. Zhang Fan's fist swept a few centimeters in front of her and picked up a few strands of hair. This punch allowed Zhang Zilin to see Zhang Fan's true nature. Ordinary people who have never practiced martial arts must have acquired some kind of supernatural physique to become so powerful. Only strength, no skills, nothing to fear. HMPH. Zhang Zilin kicked out from bottom to top. Zhang Fan felt the kick as before, and his consciousness responded, but his body couldn't keep up. He could only try his best to avoid it, then tighten his abdominal muscles and bear the kick. Boom. Zhang Fan was kicked away, but it didn't hurt. He was a little surprised that this Zhang Zilin didn't seem to have murderous intentions, and he didn't have the same explosive power as when he fought against the mutated frog. Zhang Fan's body was still flying upside down in midair. Zhang Zilin followed closely. Another punch. Zhang Fan had no choice but to put up his hands and carry it again. Boom. Zhang Zilin was unyielding and followed up with 3 punches and 2 kicks. Bang 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 bang. Zhang Fan was like a sandbag, accelerating and flying backwards towards the blind corner of the wall. I caught you. Zhang Zilin sneered, her body gliding quickly on the ground like a snake, following closely, not giving Zhang Fan any time to breathe. As long as he is beaten and subdued, it will be easy to get along with him in the future. Ah! Zhang Zilin watched helplessly as Zhang Fan passed through the wall like a phantom and disappeared without a trace. Through walls. Is this his earth-burrowing ability? Zhang Zilin stood helplessly in front of the wall, gritting her teeth in anger. She knew Zhang Fan would burrow into the ground, so she pressed on so tightly, fearing that he would escape. Who knew he could burrow into the ground so fast? Even if you can break through the wall, it will take a long time. By then Zhang Fan would have gone to nowhere. Who can catch him at this speed? What a stinky rat. Zhang Zilin was so angry that her teeth itched. Suddenly, a hand stretched out strangely from the wall and threw something towards her. Shocking bomb. Zhang Zilin's expression froze. Boom. A huge sonic boom exploded not far in front of Zhang Zilin. Ah! Zhang Zilin screamed and fell to the ground. Even with her strong physique, she couldn't withstand such a close-range shock bomb. Zhang Fan was unwilling to give up. He stood behind the wall, watched Jong Zin fall to the ground, and sneered. Let you hit me. He took out 3 more shock bombs and threw them into the next door through the wall with his palm. Boom, boom, boom. Jong Zin could no longer hold on and passed out completely. Zhang Fan observed carefully for a while and then threw another shock bomb. Boom. Jong Zin had no reaction. After Zhang Fan confirmed that she was really unconscious, he walked through the wall, walked to Zhang Zin, and looked down at her. This woman is completely unlike other beautiful women, with an indescribable heroic spirit on her face. She has a fit figure, slender limbs, and is full of athlete-like health. This is a dangerous and beautiful woman. Zhang Fan didn't dare to relax at all, so he took out a bundle of steel wires and tied her hands and feet tightly together before he breathed a sigh of relief. Zhang Fan looked at Zhang Zin with evil intentions. What exactly is your ability? I'm looking forward to it very much. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.